Chapter 305. Michael and Gaia both transformed themselves into their other personas. Take care of them, Gaia ordered Azazel before disappearing from the room along with Michael. The next moment, they appeared in a dark alley behind some houses. Unlike Royal Land, the river town didn't have lampposts to brightly light the streets. Only the rich cities could afford Vedrite stone's lamps. The small towns like river towns used torches instead of lamps. He should be somewhere near, Gaia said while Michael willed the system to give him the drones. Soon, 5 drones materialized above their heads. He sent the drones in all directions. After deploying the drones, both of them ascended to the sky. Although the roofs and buildings prevented them from clearly seeing the dark alleys, one of the drones picked a figure painting the wall. The figure gawked around to see if anyone's watching him. The figure also looked at the sky vigilantly, yet the darkness covered the drone. Since Michael kept a safe distance between the figure and the drone, the faint motor sound didn't reach the figure's ears. Found him, Michael grabbed Gaia's hands before activating the lightning dash towards the figure's direction. The figure was halfway done painting the letter L when Michael appeared directly above him. The bow of Legolas appeared in Gaia's hands. She knocked an arrow dipped with Michael's paralyzing poison. Noticing the figure's cultivation level, Michael sighed in relief as the figure was at core formation stage level 3. Compared to Michael, the figure was 5 levels below him, 6 levels below Gaia. In addition to the fusion stage bone, the 40% boost given to Gaia by the system increased her cultivation speed by several times. Even without any boost, she had a monstrous cultivation speed. With Michael's boost, she became a heaven-defying talent. With her speed, she would never fall back from Michael's cultivation speed. Whoosh! The arrow soared through the air as a bullet fired from a gun. The figure barely had time to react before the arrow nailed his leg to the ground. Ah! The figure squealed in pain. The voice, however, was not of a man's but a woman's. The paralyzing poison immediately spread through the woman's body, making even lifting her pinky impossible. Michael landed before the figure. She was covered in full black clothes from top to bottom. It's a woman. Gaia's brows arched up behind her mask. Let's have a chat in the forest nearby. I heard the forest at this time is particularly creepy and dark. Just like we like it, Gaia chuckled evilly. Without wasting any more time, Michael paid the required badass points to teleport the 3 of them to the forest surrounding the river town. The possibility of this figure might belong to the Guardians prevented him from taking her back to his secret lair. He was prepared to do any means necessary to extract the reason why she is painting his symbol all around the kingdom. It was extremely risky, as the church and the Guardians were scouring the kingdom as they speak, to find Lucifer. The forest surrounding the river town was huge, misty, and verdant. Its canopy was contested by maple, larch and holly. Still, plenty of moonlight passed through their crowns for a hodgepodge of sprouts to burst from the soft, rich soils below. Coiling branches hung from the occasional tree, and a mishmash of flowers, which grew in abundance, enhanced the otherwise green forest floor. A variety of wild sounds, most of which were birds and vermin, filled the air and formed a chaotic orchestra with the sounds of several woodpeckers in the distance. The moment Michael appeared with the figure in Gaia, he took out a bunch of spiders from his space ring. The spiders crawled through the forest ground towards the figure. Just imagining creepy spiders crawling into her clothes made Gaia grimace. Gaia slowly squatted beside the woman who was lying on the ground motionlessly. Conjuring an orb of fire for light, Michael patiently waited to see the woman's face. The moment Gaia pulled off the cloak covering the figure's face, both Michael and Gaia were stunned. Sadie, the girl behind the mask, was none other than the girl Michael first made love to in this world, Sadie Kaplan of Silvermoon. Thanks to the mask they were wearing, Sadie couldn't see their reactions. If Michael had an expression of shock, Gaia had a mixture of shock and anger. In this whole world, she hated 4 women the most: her stepmom, Zanali, Sadie, and finally Layla. Her reason for hating the last 2 was that both of them slept with Michael. Of course, she knew Michael was forced to spirit walk with Layla, yet she hated Layla for putting Michael in danger. Although Michael slept with Sadie way before she confessed her feelings for him, she still hated Sadie. Let's kill this bitch and be done with it, she unsheathed her dagger, placing it on Sadie's throat. I want to hear Sadie Kaplan's reasons for summoning us. Michael also squatted beside Sadie. With a flick of his wrist, he took 2 potions from the system storage, healing potion, and the antidote for the paralyzing poison. Without letting Sade see the potion, he poured the potion into her wound. Then he injected the antidote into her left arm. Gradually Sadie began to move her limbs. Lou. Lou. Lucy. Lucifer, Gaia tried to calm her anger. After what happened last time when she lost control, she was working on anger management. Sadie picked herself up with difficulty. The usual playful smile or the glistening of her skin was nowhere to be found. Compared to the last time Michael saw her, she had lost several pounds to the point Michael could see her neck and collarbones. Her eyes lost their shine. They looked dull, like she was crying continuously for several days. Michael really started to wonder what pushed Sadie to this state. I want to trade my soul, Sadie stammered. Her voice had a mixture of overwhelming sadness, anger, and fear. Trade your soul? For what? The concept of devil in this world didn't vary too much from the concept of devil in the earth. For instance, people in both worlds believed the devil would take a soul in return for one's desire. For my sisters, her eyes watered up. She went to her knees, begging Michael with her hands clenched against her chest. What happened to your sisters? Michael asked. While tears were flowing down from her eyes, Sadie retrieved a stack of posters from her space ring. She reached out to give the posters to Michael. Gaia took the posters from her hand carefully. She could see a painting of a beautiful girl with her basic details like name, age, cultivation level, address, and last known location. Gaia flipped the poster stack to see another girl with all those details. Each poster had a face and detail of a young girl. Gaia handed over the posters to Michael as he did the same, going through all the posters one by one. It seemed all the girls were missing. There were at least 50 posters in the stack. They are all missing. It's my fault. All of them. Gone. My fault. She fell belly flat to the ground. Her cry of sorrow seemed legitimate. Seeing her cry like this made even Gaia feel pity for her. Since Michael knew the Guardians acted as the major law organization, he asked the obvious question first, although he knew the answer. If they are all missing, why didn't you go to the Guardians? And why isn't your Silver Moon looking into this? Asked Gaia. The Guardians humph, the sorrow in Sadie's eyes transformed into a fit of volcanic anger. Her eyes became eye-shot in a blink of an eye. Tell us the full story, Michael asked. Although this was not a situation he should be happy for, his mind quickly formulated a plan to increase his power using this unfortunate situation. If he could somehow find the missing girls, he would be able to get Sadie to his side. In the future, when Sadie became the Silver Moon sect head, she would work for him. Thus, the Silver Moon would become another major power under him. While tears gushed out of the eyes like a flood out of the floodgates, she began to tell them the story of these missing girls. Sadie's story was simple, yet Michael could sense a tragedy in her story. The short version of the story was the Silver Moon used to send girls to noble parties, galas, and rich people gatherings to accompany rich noblemen. Since the girls were extremely beautiful and trained to sway the men, many noblemen desired for these girls to be their partners even for one night. The Silver Moon girls would make these men happy while getting crucial information from them. Knowledge was power, and Silver Moon thrived on gathering knowledge. Noblemen asked, they Silver Moon sent girls, they came back with the information. That was the cycle until recently, when something began to change. The girls Sadie sent began to go missing. Since it was not unlikely for Silver Moon girls to run away, at first, Sadie thought they ran away. Soon afterward, more and more girls began to go missing, including little girls who didn't even come of age. Of course, the Silver Moon never sent little girls to the noblemen, yet they began to go missing while going to another city or traveling with their senior sisters. Michael dealt with human trafficking back on Earth, and this looked like one. As for Michael's question about going to Guardians, the answer was she went to Guardians, filed a complaint, and never heard from them again. No matter how many times she dropped by at the guild, they just gave her some half-assed answers. The sect was worse, according to Sadie. These girls just ran away. The sect was too busy with other things to go search for the girls. Out of desperation and guilt, she began to look for the person who said he came to punish the evildoers, Lucifer. Considering she investigated a few murders of Lucifer at the beginning, she knew about his signature. So she painted the symbol all around the kingdom to get his attention. Playing hero was not Michael's intention. If Sadie was not in the line to become the next head of Silver Moon, he would have dropped the posters in the hands of Noah, as he loved to be the Good Samaritan. Noah was competent, so Michael knew he would have eventually found these girls. However, Sadie was in line to be the next head, which made Michael take this task into his own hands. Chapter 306. After Sadie finished her story, Michael and Gaia walked several meters away from her. If she's telling the truth, we can make her our subordinate and control the Silver Moon in the future, Michael told her. What if she's lying? What if this is a plot to catch us? Then kill her and send her body to whoever put her up to this task. He didn't feel like Sadie was lying. Nonetheless, if there's a tiny chance that Sadie was trying to play him, he would kill her in a heartbeat because he would go to any lengths to remain safe. Will you help me? When they returned, Sadie pleaded with them. System, scan her for any threats or tracking spells. Sadie saw Lucifer reaching his hand out towards her as warm bright light enveloped her for a couple of moments. At first, she thought he was taking her soul or something. Yet even after the light disappeared, she felt nothing different in her mind or body except for the spiders crawling out from her clothes. The scan completed. You have nothing to worry about. Only after the system confirmed that she had nothing that could be used to track him or Abyssal, Michael made his next move. I can find the girls, but the price isn't your soul. The price is your undying loyalty. Regardless of Gaia's hate towards Sadie, she was mature enough to see the big picture. She also understood what happened between Ghost and Sadie was no one's fault but hers. If she confessed her feelings earlier to him, he wouldn't have slept with Sadie in the first place. As a girl, Gaia saw the hesitation in her eyes. To be honest, she was surprised. Sadie was ready to sell her soul in a heartbeat, yet she hesitated to sell her body. What? You want me to dash? No sexual things involved as you might presume. When she hesitated, Gaia interrupted her. Horrible things happen to innocent people every day, Sadie. You're feeling what you're feeling because it happened to the people you care about. I'm not an angel who comes when you call and hold your hands through your problems. I'm Lucifer. When I come, the problem disappears. But there's a price for calling me. In your case, the price is your loyalty. Become a part of my army, with me standing behind you. You can make sure nothing like this ever happen again. She will swear her loyalty to us, Lucifer. She probably has realized we are a better justice system than the Guardian Guild. In their eyes, Silver Moon girls are just glorified harlots. No one will give a shit about them if they went missing or ended up dead, Gaia said, folding her arms. Are you willing to be my subordinate, Sadie Kaplan, and change how the world works or remain as what you're now? A scared little girl no one will listen to? I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Lucifer. Lord Lucifer, Gaia reminded Sadie. Does the host wish to accept Maxine Kane as your subordinate? Yes, subordinate. Sadie Kaplan. Cultivation level. Core formation stage level 3 race. Human status. Healthy loyalty towards the host. 15%. The loyalty level was understandable. He hadn't saved her sisters yet, so she had no reason to be loyal to him. At least the system accepted her as his subordinate. Good. Sadie saw the two of them walking towards her. She tried to stand up, but before she could move her body, the space around her distorted, making her close her eyes. When Sadie opened her eyes, she was standing on what seemed to be a throne hall. Great braziers half enclosing each of the 8 onyx columns lighted up every part of the throne hall, covering the hall in dancing shadows and a dark radiance. The relatively modest chandeliers were hanging from the slanted ceiling, dance in the flickering light, while paintings of Lucifer looked down upon the black floor of this extravagant hall. A dark gray rug ran down from the throne and split to encircle the entire hall, while swallowtail banners with embellished needlework drooped from the walls. Between each banner sits a small altar full of candles, many of which have been lit, in turn illuminating the throne. A throne of skull and bones sat at the end of the rug above an elevated stage. Beside the skull and bones throne, there was another identical throne, but it was smaller in size compared to the other. Azazel transformed the throne hall completely with the help of netherals. While Sadie, staring at the throne hall flabbergasted, both Michael and Gaia seated themselves on their thrones. We should send our minions scouring the kingdom to find those girls, Gaia suggested. I have a lead. Sadie swallowed her fear to speak to them. Michael saw Sadie holding a parchment in her hand. Azazel, Sadie heard Lucifer call the name, looking beside her. The very next moment, the parchment in her hands was pulled by an invisible force. The parchment floated towards Lucifer. When the parchment reached his hand, she saw a figure materialize in front of Lucifer and the Dark Queen. The ethereal figure looked like a butler. She had never seen ethereal figures before. She only heard of them in the books. Michael read the parchment with Gaia. He then took his gaze away from the parchment to look at her. Minister Magnus, Michael asked, expecting her to explain how she came to the conclusion that Minister Magnus had something to do with the girl's disappearance. Shiho, the first girl who went missing, attended Magnus' party before her disappearance. Hanako went missing after going to Magnus' cousin's annual gala. Most of the girls went missing after attending some kind of party organized by someone related to Magnus. He's the common factor in all of this. Sadie clenched her fist as her nails started to penetrate her soft palm. Did you make any kind of move on Magnus to see if he really has something to do with the girls? Hearing Gaia, Sadie shook her head. He was recently promoted to take care of the military. He's using this as an excuse to avoid meeting people. That scumbag is pretending that he has a threat to his life. I couldn't get into or get him out of his manor. That shouldn't be a problem. No matter how protected he is, he wouldn't sleep with his guards around. Since he needed to live stream killing criminals to boost his legend and earn badass points, he guessed he could start with Magnus. Gaia noticed Sadie open and close her mouth like she has something to say. What is it? Spit it out. Rumor is he's coming to the opening of Ghost's restaurant. Michael's brows arched up behind his mask. He just asked Ricky and Daniel to distribute the opening posters around the kingdom, yet Sadie knew who's coming to the opening. This was why the Silver Moon sect was so successful, as they were basically a spy organization. With the right guidance and tools, Michael could turn the sect into a super spy organization. Coupled with his spiders spread around the kingdom, he could really see his shadow society thriving in the future. There are a couple of roads he could take to reach the river town. The good thing is they are all coming through forests of the Sunrise sect, Gaia said as Michael took an earbud from his system storage. With a flick of his wrist, he sent the earbud flying towards Sadie. Put this in your ear. Magnus will be delivered to you here. Meanwhile, don't do anything stupid. If whoever took the girls became suspicious, they might kill them all if they hadn't yet. Although Sadie knew the possibility of her sisters being dead, hearing Dark Queen say this stirred the bad feeling in her gut. Her eyes yet again watered up. Arya. After a few minutes he called the name. Sadie saw a petite brown-haired girl walking through the door at the throne hall's east side. She knelt before Lucifer on one knee, coordinate with Azazel and Sadie and search the docks and borders to locate anything suspicious. Yes, Lord Lucifer, Arya said confidently as Michael looked at Azazel. Tell Dalar to release a few netherils to the royal land. That should keep the church and the guardians busy for some time. As you wish, Lord Lucifer. Azazel bowed. After giving them their orders, he sent them away except Sadie. From now on, keep away from the guardians. They are not what they appear to be. Above those tangerine mountains and sparkling long river, kissed to their heady blush by the sun, were clouds that moved in shoals. And so the sky was equal parts blue and a chorus of grays, streaked with silvers and golds. People of Rivertown were coming out of their homes one by one with sleepy faces. It was still early morning, so the chirping of birds overpowered the sounds of people. Michael and Gaia were standing inside their newly built restaurant, enjoying its beauty inch by inch. Although the restaurant didn't exactly look like the Ristorante La Sponda, it was beautiful in its own way. The river view outside the glass window added extra charm to the place. Lord Fover has really outdone himself, Master Ghost. Gloria's eyes were full of excitement for the opening. She would have never thought her life would completely change the moment she met Ghost when he first arrived at Rivertown and stayed in Lucky Cat Tavern. She was not a mere waitress anymore. She was the manager of the most beautiful restaurant in the whole of Bradford or even in the kingdom. A few months ago, if anyone said she would earn 1,000 gold a month as salary, she would have told them they are crazy, but it became a reality thanks to Ghost. In a couple of months, she bought a new land to build a new home for her family, sent her siblings to the Sunrise sect, and saved gold coins for her marriage. Many of her friends were jealous of her for working for Ghost. If he hadn't, I would have hanged that little bastard by his beard, Gaia said, making Gloria giggle. In 3 days, we have several nobles and powerful people attending the opening. I want everything to be perfect. I won't let you down, Master Ghost. Gloria's voice contained a sliver of fear, but it was overshadowed by her confidence. Good. We really need to come up with the name Ghost. Chapter 307. In the early morning, golden light dribbled over the land like syrup on oatmeal. The leaves shimmered like a mirror-flecked mosaic, and the morning dew sparkled on the jade-green grass. Michael was standing on the tallest mountain peak of the Sunrise sect. He enjoyed the moment of peace and calm before the big day. How do I look? He heard Gaia's voice coming from behind. Without even turning back, he could sense her delight in her heart through her voice. Yesterday he realized why most men hesitate to go to clothing stores with women. He at least went to 12 clothing stores in Royal Land. She spent hours in each store. It took him less than an hour to buy 4 sets of clothes while she took an entire day to get 2. Before yesterday, Gaia never focused on menial things such as fancy clothes. However, yesterday she went all in. More than she liked shopping, she liked to chill out with Michael without worrying about their plans. For the first time since he came to this world, Michael wore a cloth set that didn't come from the system store. His long-sleeved, leather jacket covered him to just below his waist and was almost completely buttoned up at the left side. The sleeves of his jacket were a loose fit, reaching down to well below his hands. They were decorated with a single thread lining at the sleeve ends. The jacket had a deep, rectangular neckline which revealed part of the gray elegant shirt worn below it and was worn with a wide rope belt, which was held together by a big belt buckle. The rope belt was almost entirely a functional addition. His pants were simple, a comfortable fit, reaching down to his hide boots. The boots were made from a rare hide, but otherwise a common design. Except for the shirt, everything was black. His sculpted muscles made him extra handsome in the clothes. "Hello," she called again to get his attention. What happened yesterday kept bugging him. After she called him again, he finally turned back to be startled by her beauty. Her fancy dress flowed from top to bottom and had a draped neckline, which lightly revealed the modest dress worn below it. The exquisite, tightly tied fabric of her dress covers her stomach where the continuous flow was broken up by a light leather belt worn quite high around her waist. Below the leather belt, the dress opened up to the left, revealing the dress below. The front of the top dress was shorter at the front and curved outwards. The back continued to flow a short length behind her, ending in a narrow rectangle. Her sleeves were longer than her arms and a comfortable fit. Their flow was broken up above the elbow where they change color and where they're divided by dark, elegant bands. These were the same fabric and color used to outline the bottom and neckline of the dress. Just like Michael, she too chose to wear black. Although the dress was beautiful, it was the girl who was wearing the dress that elevated the beautiful dress to artistic. His occupied mind was completely blanked by her angelic beauty. He could see her real face as she didn't wear the mask to put on Elia's face. Looking at her, he couldn't help wondering if the gods personally sculpted this beauty before sending her to this world. There were no fitting adjectives to describe her beauty in his mind. She squinted at him with one eye playfully. "It's natural to be speechless," she proudly said as Michael gently smiled, forgetting what was on his mind for a moment. "You look beautiful." Michael walked towards her before pulling her closer to him by her waist. "Scars are cool. Human," she gently headbutt him. "We'll talk about that later. Now let's go open our restaurant." Both of them slowly ascended to the sky. The entire river town was in a festive mood. The streets were filled with people in colorful dresses, carrying name boards saying Ghost, Elia, and Sunrise Sect. The morning light didn't stop them from painting the sky with colorful fireworks. Children sitting on the shoulders of their father wore black dresses to look like Ghost. When Michael arrived at River Town, he saw lines of noble carriages coming towards the restaurant. Boom, boom, boom. The fireworks exploded in the sky above the restaurant. In addition to carriages, numerous Pegasus were flying from all directions towards the restaurant. The restaurant building was currently covered in a giant red cloth. "Look over there. Hi. Ghost. Elia. River Town. Ghost, ghost, ghost." The moment they descended to the point the people noticed, the cheers erupted like a bubbling volcano. The people cheered as loud as they could. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 2,000 badass points. The notification sounded just as loud as these people, almost giving him a headache. In a couple of minutes, he earned more than 20,000 badass points. The adventurers who were hired to keep the crowd in control were having trouble keeping the people in line. It has been 3 months since the people of the river town saw him. In 3 months' time, the river town's economy and status were elevated significantly. The scene reminded Michael of all the red carpet events. In fact, his last assassination back on Earth had celebrities and fans who behaved just like the river town's people. On Earth, he remained in the shadows. In this world, he was standing right in the spotlight. The restaurant was built on elevated land so the diners could have a better view of the river. The elevated land was designed in the shape of a heptagon with a staircase on 2 opposite sides. Right at the moment, the river town people were on one side while the nobles were using the other to enter the restaurant. Ghost, ghost, ghost. Among the crowd, a boy was screaming Michael's name. The little kid wore the miniature version of a Neo costume to cosplay as him. He was standing relatively close to the front line before climbing the stairs. Michael reached to grab the kid. His father was stunned but didn't stop Michael from taking the kid. "How are you, little buddy?" The kid was speechless as Michael retrieved a quill from his space ring. "I want to be like you when I grow up," the kid said. "Work hard, 'cause less trouble for your parents and you will be just like me," Michael said, signing his name on the kind shirt in white considering the kid's clothes were black. After handing over the kid back to his father, Michael and Gaia continued to talk to some of the people before climbing the stairs to the restaurant. Wind blast. Michael sent a gentle gush of wind blast to calm the people. The sudden wind produced a howling sound, instantly silencing the people. "People of Rivertown," Michael began to speak. His voice was amplitude by arch energy to sound loud so the entire Rivertown could hear him. "It's been almost a year since I came to Rivertown. Although it's a short amount of time, I have nothing but great memories here. That was why I decided to open my first business in Rivertown. This is a starting point of Rivertown's glory as 20% of my restaurant's earnings will be used to develop Rivertown." The cheers erupted the moment they heard Michael donating 20% of the earnings to their town. The Sunrise sect will build new roads, bring more job opportunities through new business, cultivating the lands around the town so all the ingredients needed to run the restaurant will be cultivated and bought from Rivertown. The cheers kept erupting non-stop. The people became extremely excited and happy. Some of them even shed tears in overwhelming joy. I can list what we are planning for the Rivertown all day. But actions speak louder than words. So let the action begin. "People welcome to the majestic Hades," as he said. Michael turned back, pointing his finger at the clothes. A bolt of lightning shot from his fingertip to light red clothes in the fire. He specially bought this cloth from the system store. The bright red flames burned as it looked like the building had a crown made of flames. The flames only lasted for a few moments before fading into nothingness, showing the name board and the restaurant building. The name The Majestic Hades was etched on the building's top with golden letters. Finally, after 6 months of building and preparing for the launch, they opened up the restaurant. "Also, my dear people of the Rivertown, you don't need to treat me like a celebrity. I don't want any fan clubs or this kind of parade for me every time I visit the town. Focus on your life, work hard, take care of the people around you. That will make me proud. Now carry on with your lives." As much as Michael loved to be the badass in the spotlight, he didn't want to be swarmed with crazy fans everywhere he goes. That would affect his productivity. Remaining in shadows would not work in his favor in this world because it wouldn't earn him as many badass points as he actually needs. However, becoming too famous at this point in his life wasn't his plan either. Expanding his power too quickly would draw out the attention of unnecessary foes. He had to make every single move with utmost caution to remain safe until he reached the point that no one could harm him. Special shout out to the wonderful people in my Discord server for helping me in naming the restaurant. Chapter 308. "You're gonna get bored of these things sooner or later, Ghost," Elder Martin said, enjoying his baked silk fish. A 5-star chef could improve the taste of any food or drink, even alcohol, by 100%. In addition, food and drink made by them improved cultivation speed by 30% for the next week. Some dishes were even able to improve physical strength, defense, and concentration/focus by 5% for the next 24 hours. Of course, these were only some of the benefits in the long list. Effects or benefits varied from dish to dish. "I assure you, Elder Martin, I won't get bored. What's the point of living for 100 years if we don't enjoy everything this world has to offer?" "I agree with Master Ghost," Lord Malin, who was sitting on the other side of Michael's table, said. Currently, several men and women were occupying Michael's long glass table. There was Elder Martin from the Kane family, Lord Malin of Bradley, the elders of Sunrise sect except for Elder Sandra, who apparently hates gatherings, Reginald, Claire, Gaia, Olivia, and lastly, Ella, the new branch leader of Sunrise sect in Broad River, previously known as Broad River sect in Kingdom Kethan. She was eternally grateful for healing her burned skin and making her good and beautiful again. "I'd choose this over dealing with inner family bitching." Lord Malin rolled his eyes thinking about everything he had to deal with since becoming the family head. "Welcome to the club, Lord Malin," Ella chuckled. "You know we're here to help any time you want, Ella," Claire said, taking a sip from her wine glass. "Miss Elia, hey, race your seared moon boar." As they were speaking, a young waitress came carrying a smoking delicious dish. The entire restaurant was full and there were countless nobles waiting in line to get into the restaurant. The restaurant had 50 tables in different sizes. Almost 100 people could comfortably dine here. Regardless of the crowd, the waiters and waitresses trained by Gloria were doing a great job. All the 20 waiters and waitresses moved in perfect rhythm to keep the tables filled and diners happy. Gloria was training them for 3 months. Michael was thinking about raising Gloria's wage because of her talent. He never expected this kind of talent in managing a restaurant and training people from a girl who worked as a waitress in a small tavern. Cooking hundreds of dishes back-to-back didn't slow down Raylene even for a bit. With the tools, machines, and the help of a few sous chefs, Raylene kept pumping out delicious food as fast as the nobles finishing their meals, which was fast, extremely fast. How's preparing for the tournament going, Ghost? Has anyone else besides you two competing from your sect? Sect leader Claire. Even Ghost didn't know the answer to that question. He looked at Claire as did everyone else. They are growing stronger fast, but they are not ready yet. So these two have to win the tournaments in their respective championship. Claire raised her cup towards Michael and Gaia. No biggie, Gaia shrugged. Can we bet on you two winning? Lord Malin asked with a wide grin on his face. I can't stop you if you want. I know I'm betting on ourselves. Although he said like he was joking, they could sense the confidence in his voice. In their eyes, Gaia didn't even look like she gives a damn about the tournament. Where's Nightmare, by the way? Lord Malin asked, looking around the restaurant. He thought the dragon would follow Ghost anywhere he goes. Master Ghost. Suddenly Ricky came running to Michael. Those at the table saw Ricky whisper something into Ghost's ears. What is it? Claire asked. Apparently a newswoman from something called Royal Times is asking to meet me. Only Elder Martin remained calm, continuing to enjoy the food. The others, however, raised their brows, realizing Ghost has no idea what a Royal Time is. Gaia didn't even bother to look at Michael as she knew he had no clue because she never told him anything about Royal Times or the other newspapers in the continent. You seriously don't know anything about Royal Times? Lord Malin asked as Michael shook his head. They are one of the leading newspapers in the continent. If you want to get famous overnight, they can get it done, Lord Malin said with a serious face. It's better you stay on their good side. There's a saying among big families, the newspapers are spells that do more damage than any spells. After seeing Elder Malin offering him a piece of advice, Michael nodded, deciding to meet this newspaper woman. I think you made it into the Elon Prodigy rankings. Everyone agreed with Ella with a nod. Michael didn't need any explanations on the rankings because it was pretty obvious. When he was an assassin, the Dark World always used to bribe journalists to cover their tracks. The Dark World manipulated everything in the newspaper related to them. That was how they remained hidden for centuries. Therefore, Michael had little to no trust in these so-called newspapers to print the truth or the rankings precisely. He guessed there are noble families that have already paid the newspaper to get the prodigies of their family a higher ranking. All right, that's my cue. Gaia stood up from the table with her plate. Where are you going? Michael asked. Trust me, it's better I stay away from these bitches. I have a bad tendency to break their noses. See ya, ladies and gentlemen. She waved at the guests before running back into the kitchen. Shall we? Claire gestured at Ella to leave the table, but Michael stopped them. No need for you guys to leave. She's gonna interview me, not you. Let me take care of this. Michael wanted the newspaper woman to see him with the people at this table, especially Elder Martin from Kane family. If she were to write he has a good relationship with the Kane family, it would pave the way for new opportunities with other noble families as well as keep the rogue and hostile cultivators away from him. Ricky, bring her to me. Michael wiped off the corners of his mouth with the white cloth. Winnie, Michael called out to the waiter who served his table. The guy was still flabbergasted at the fact Michael remembered his name from the start he met him. The other prodigies wouldn't even acknowledge the existence of waiters like Winnie, yet Michael treated each and every worker with the respect they deserve. Does Master Ghost need anything else? Glass of grape juice is enough for me. What about you, ladies and gentlemen? Bring that menu of yours, kid. Elder Martin didn't hold back, filling his belly. Since everything was so delicious, everyone started to order food yet again while Michael was waiting for the newswoman. A few minutes after Ricky left the table, he bought a woman wearing a large hat to Michael. Standing 5'2" tall, this dark-skinned woman had a charismatic feel about her. She had a triangular face, a straight nose, small lips, and her dark brown eyes were heavy-lidded. Her black hair, dyed completely peach, was short, shiny. She wore an obvious foundation, glittery lipstick, natural-colored blush, complimentary eyeliner, and artistic eyeshadow. Take a seat, Miss Nadia Hall from the Royal Times. Michael stood up, shaking her hand, then sat back. When she noticed the faces at the table, she was slightly surprised, especially when she met Elder Martin devouring the chicken. Winnie. Oh no, Master Ghost. I'm filled, she said with a smile that was neither too friendly nor too cold. As you wish. Michael did not force her as he waved off Winnie, letting him take care of the other tables. Thank you for agreeing to me on such short notice, Master Ghost. Do you know why I'm here? She spoke in a thick British accent. The fact this world has accents similar to those on Earth surprised Michael. No, sorry. I don't quite follow the newspapers. So no. Let me enlighten you then. As you may or may not know, the Royal Times have been watching the young talents very closely. We wanted to do a piece of the new rising star of Elon, you. What better time than now? A week before the big tournament. I know you have guests to take care of, so shall we start the interview, Master Ghost? She placed a parchment and a quill on the table. She then closed her eyes, casting a spell on the parchment and the quill. The quill started to write itself. Let's start with your name, Ghost. Is there a reason behind your rather uncommon name? Michael relaxedly took a short sip from the grape juice. People called me Ghost for some reason when I was little. It stuck with me ever since. People? What about your parents, Master Ghost? Only after this question, Elder Martin raised his head to look at Michael. Everyone was interested in knowing the answer. I don't have any. I'm an orphan. Many people who heard Michael's answer were surprised. They never imagined an orphan reaching the stage where Ghost is. Hiding her surprise, Nadia moved on to her next question. It's difficult to make a name for oneself in the world of cultivation with a family backing you. So how did you reach this point without any family support? Hard work, he simply said. On Earth or on this world, Michael worked his ass off. He might have a system, but he needed to work mentally and physically to get to this point. Without hard work, no one could use the system to its full potential. Hard work? That's it. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, Miss Hall. I had to pay in blood and sweat to get everything in my life. Chapter 309. The nobles were having double fun. On one side, they were enjoying the delicious meal of their life. On the other hand, they were watching the interview live. How do you explain your talent for alchemy? Do you think you were born with it? I was fortunate to have a mentor. We used to go to all kinds of dungeons and ruins searching for ancient scripts and long-lost methods. The good old days. Nadia's eyes sparkled when she heard about Michael's mentor. She immediately asked a follow-up question. Can you please tell us about your mentor? All our readers would be interested in the person who mentored the youngest 5-star alchemist in the continent. I can't talk much about him as he values privacy more than anything. But I can tell you this, he's scary and much more talented than any alchemist I know. Michael's answer was vague, yet it had the right amount of mystery to let the others keep guessing. It would also stop people from wondering how he became a 5-star alchemist to some extent. Speaking of privacy, we don't know anything about your life before you came to the river town? Where did you grow up actually? She asked another question that many were wondering. Even Claire looked interested in knowing the answer to this question. Where didn't I grow up would be the fitting question, Michael smiled, taking a sip of grape juice. If you want to know the answer to the question where was I before coming to River Town, the answer is R. Many raised their brows in surprise. They never expected him to come from the most powerful continent in the world. The other 3 continents couldn't even be compared to our, as they were the richest, largest powerful continents. The main reason for Aur's prosperity was that Aur had several races living together. Although there were struggles between the races such as the enmity between dwarves and elves, they didn't go to war with each other to prove who's the superior ones. Instead, they developed their own kingdoms and empires to be the number one. This altogether lifted the status of the entire continent. Wow! You're far away from home. Home? No. Home is where I am. River Town and the sect is my home now. Claire gently smiled as Nadia's quill wrote every single word that came from his mouth onto the parchment. What made you come to the river town, Master Ghost? The weather, that was my reason, chuckled Michael. As an experienced newswoman, she knew when someone's brushing off the question. Usually, she would focus on that particular question until she got something juicy, but she was experienced enough to know that Ghost is not going to explain his reason for coming to the river town. Master Ghost, we know you like to keep it yourself and focus on. Nadia paused for a moment searching for the right word. Accumulating power and money while trying to avoid making enemies, she slowly moved on to the serious topics of her interview. She obviously did her research on Michael. But what made a guy like you massacre an entire sect overnight, including the sect leader? You actually tied the sect leader on a pole and burned him alive. Roasted him alive like a turkey, that's what the people were saying. Claire noticed his smile slightly changing into a cold one. Miss Nadia, you obviously did your research. So please tell me this. Do you know what the Blood and Bone sect did? Michael asked Nadia. The people only knew Ghost massacred the Blood and Bone sect overnight, but most of them didn't know why he did that in the first place. I think it's because they killed the people in Rosewood Village. Michael put down the glass in his hand. His smile completely disappeared from his face. You said I massacred the sect and the sect killed the people in Rosewood Village. He emphasized the words massacred and killed. What the sect did was a massacre. What I did was justice. The least we cultivators could do to the commoners is let them be. The waiter and waitresses who heard Michael had their respect towards him lifted to another level. Let's talk about Heaven's Gate competition, Master Ghost. You're the first person to reach the 100th step. How did you do it? It wasn't very difficult. He could feel all the eyes on him, looking at him with both shock and surprise. Speaking of Heaven's Gate, there are rumors you and Miss Selena have some bad blood between you two. What's your comment on that? No comment. I don't respond to rumors. Nadia seemed disappointed, yet it didn't stop her from coming up with a follow-up question. We have on good authority that she personally came to interrogate you with a truth extractor pill that was concocted by Pill King Gabriel himself. I think what she did was out of grief. I was in the Netherrealm when her cousin was killed, and everyone knows there's no way of coming out of the Netherrealm until the portal opens. It was a desperate attempt to catch the killer. I'm not blaming her for doing that. He sounded truthful. However, Michael was planning to settle the score between them at the tournament once and for all. On the topic of tournaments, who do you think has the most chance of winning them? My girlfriend Elia will win the championship for the body strengthening stage, and I will win the other, Michael said casually. For some nobles, he sounded arrogant. For some others, he sounded confident. As far as Michael was concerned, if he couldn't even win the tournament with the system's help, there was no way in hell he could conquer this world. At the same time, he didn't think it would be easy to win, as he was accumulating badass points to buy new spells and upgrade the existing ones. Wow, you sound pretty confident, Nadia giggled. What he said was a good piece that would stir the heat between the youngsters who were competing. The more hype her newspaper created for the tournament, the more the tournament committee would pay them. If your parents were to read this, what would you say to them? He was slightly stunned by her question. He never expected her to come back to the topic of his parents. Is it really necessary to ask him about these things? Claire intervened. She didn't like Nadia poking into the bad memories. It's okay, sect leader Claire, Michael said before Nadia could answer Claire. First of all, I don't have any parents. The moment they chose to throw me away like a piece of trash they never wanted, they ceased to exist in my world. I used to watch children play with their parents. You know how their mothers loved them, the fathers protected them. I envied them when I was little. Although Michael and Abraz were two different persons, the pain of being an orphan was the same for both of them. He knew he was Abraz, so he wanted Abraz's parents to know what he's feeling. When I was 7, I still remember that day vividly. I stole a piece of bread as I didn't eat anything for 3 days. The baker, who was a heartless son of a bitch, caught me and gave me this. Michael slightly pulled his shirt away to reveal the burn mark near his collarbone. He punished me for stealing by burning me with a flaming charcoal piece. I cried until I had no tears left in me. There was no one there for me to. Michael felt a lump in his throat while Claire's eyes already started to well up. There was no one there for me to ease my pain, no matter how loud I cried, or how long I cried. I fainted crying when I woke up. I was still there, on the side of a pavement, drenching in rain. I never asked for any of this. If they never wanted me, they shouldn't have brought me into this world. His voice turned cold, a glint of murderous intent emerged in his eyes. If they were to read this, I have only 4 words for them. Stay away from me. That's it. The interview's over. Gaia came to Michael's table to break the interview. Her eyes were bloodshot red due to anger and sadness. Please excuse us, ladies and gentlemen. Michael left the dining hall quietly. Thankfully Gaia didn't cause a scene. Nadia was lucky that she didn't get her nose broken by Gaia. 2 days after Michael's interview with Nadia, Diana was sitting on a bench in her garden. The newspaper she was holding was drenched in her tears. No one could be seen in the garden except Diana. She sent all the gods and servants away. Because she had to leave Kethen to get something important, She couldn't go to the river town for the restaurant opening. So when she heard he gave an interview, she paid thousands of gold coins to get the first printed edition as she couldn't wait to read her son's interview. She wasn't crying her eyes out because he told his parents to stay away. She cried, thinking about the pain he went through when he was little. She could feel his hate towards her and Ethan through his words. She never wanted any of this to happen to him. Her heart bled reading his story. If she could, she would want to go to him, tell him everything and beg for his forgiveness. Chapter 310. The grayish clouds filled the sky, preventing the sunlight from coming through like border guards. The foliage slowly danced with the howling wind. The gloomy sky warned the ground about the upcoming heavy rain through drizzles. While the drizzles were slowly transforming into a heavy downpour, Ethan came to the garden where he saw his beloved wife sitting on the bench holding the newspaper. He was holding the same newspaper as his wife. In her sorrow, Diana didn't even notice Ethan sitting beside her. First edition? Ethan tried to open with a joke. It's not your fault, Diana. Ethan wrapped his arm around Diana's shoulder. I lost him because I was weak. Wasn't that my fault? You weren't weak. The Sky Hall was too powerful. You know that, everybody knows that. You had no choice. If anyone to be blamed, it's Sky Hall. Our son stole bread because he was hungry. She completely broke into tears after speaking those words. Diana couldn't even imagine what he went through. The overwhelming sadness made her heart bleed. As a man, Ethan wouldn't cry like Diana, yet even his eyes teared up when he read that. We'll get through this, Diana, like always together. I promise you, we will reunite with our son. He wiped off the tears from Diana's face while lifting her face to look her in the eyes. You can now cultivate without Sky Hall knowing. No matter how long it'll take, we must reach the immortal stage. Then we'll have a lifetime making up to our son. Ethan had full confidence in Diana reaching the immortal stage because she was the #1 prodigy of the entire world. It only took her a month of cultivation to go from the core formation stage to the core strengthening stage. Her monstrous cultivation speed was what drew the attention of Sky Hall in the first place. She was meant to be the Holy Maiden. Even to this day, the name Harriet Hunt would shake the Our continent. Before he heard everything that happened with Sky Hall, he thought only he and Diana's 2 sisters knew that Harriet Hunt is Diana. Ethan had to fake the 3 sisters' death to leave Our continent. If anyone knew she's still alive, it would be only a matter of days before the royal family as well as the Hunt family storm into Elon to take her away. As far as Diana was concerned, her talent was more of a curse than a blessing. She lost too much because of her talent. To the outside world, Diana was happy for her children's talent, except she was more worried about them than feeling happy for them. She didn't want her children to suffer the same fate she does because of their talent. Diana never regretted leaving everything behind in Ar. If she hadn't left her family, her 2 sisters would have been married off to some wealthy old men while she would have ended up as the Holy Maiden. Diana's parents viewed the 3 of them as trophies instead of as their daughters. They wanted to use them to increase the Hunt family's influence and power. Because of her decision to leave Ar with her sisters, they were blessed with peace and a happy family. She never imagined the price for leaving her life on Ar behind would be her son. One day he will understand everything. Jian. The heavy downpour came with a thunderclap. Flashes of lightning flashed across their eyes. With the climate, Diana's mood also changed. Sky Hall. The veins in her eyes began to pop up, making her eyes redder and redder. You know, Ethan, I was trying to run away from being Harriet Hunt. She stood up from the bench. I can't run away from who I am. For a second when the lightning flashed, Ethan could swear he saw Harriet Hunt, the Raven Beauty of Ar. In his mind, her golden hair transformed into raven black while 2 swords appeared in her hands. Raven black hair, 2 swords, black dress from top to bottom. That was the Harriet the entire Ar continent was afraid of. If Ethan had seen Ghost, he would have been startled to see the similarities between Harriet and Ghost. I'm gonna make every single one of them who hurt my son pay. I am Hunt, Harriet Hunt, and I have a score to settle. Meanwhile, back on the Abyssal, Michael was standing in front of a giant mirror. He was in his gray sweatpants staring at his naked upper body in the mirror. Various degrees of burn wounds, bullet wounds, and scars riddled his body. 3 days ago when he woke up, the scars he had when he was on Earth as well as new scars magically appeared on his body. The system asked him to upgrade it if he wanted to know how and why the scars appeared. Those scars brought some bad memories. Moreover, Michael wondered why these scars suddenly appeared. He didn't know the ghost's soul piece and Abra's soul piece are slowly merging together into one as they were when he was born in this world. With the soul pieces merging, they brought the scars back. This change was visible to his eyes. What wasn't visible is that his mind and heart becoming one entity instead of two, which were Ghost and Abra's. Until now, he thought he and Abra's were two different people. The truth was, however, they were the same. Only because of Sky Hall, his soul was split into two. One piece ended up on Earth and grew up to be Ghost while the other grew up to be Abra's. Fate had brought the two pieces together once again. As he was staring at his body with mixed emotions, Gaia was whistling her favorite music while counting the gold coins they got from the restaurant. Nightmare was helping her by counting the stacks with her. Vidora just stood on Gaia's shoulder, supervising the two of them. "Hey, do you want to know the total collection or keep staring at your own body?" Michael put on his t-shirt before jumping into the bed with Gaia. "Hit me with it." "Good, you're back," she pinched his cheek playfully. "Well, we earned a whopping amount of 1.2 million in 3 days. Because of your fucking generosity, we need to give 20% of the earning to the sect so they could develop the river town. That would leave us with 960,000 gold coins. What about the cost of buying the ingredients and paying the wages?" He wiggled himself from the pillow to Gaia's lap. She didn't mind, as she would sometimes rest on his lap and he would do the same. "I'm coming to that. Approximately we're spending 60,000 on both of them per month, so it's no biggie." "No biggie? You know how many people we could feed or help with 60,000 gold coins?" Nightmare rolled his eyes. "Quit whining, you big lizard. We're swimming in millions of gold. Compared to that, 60,000 is like a drop," Iag retorted. "You're a bad influence on the little girl." Michael twisted Gaia's ear, looking at Iag. "Who are you calling a little girl?" "I'll fuck you up." Iag bore her teeth after being called a little girl by Michael. "She's a bad apple." "I know that." Gaia chuckled instead of defending Iag to make the little Hydra even more furious. He bad apple." Sarba, the silverhead, chuckled with the rest of them as Iag began to hit him in the head. "Jokes aside, we need to cut the cost of buying the ingredients. When are they gonna start cultivating the fertile lands around the river town? If we could produce what we need in the river town, it'll save us the gold coins of buying them from the other towns and kingdoms while improving the economy of the river town," Michael asked. He let Gaia and Claire handle these kinds of things as they had more knowledge and experience compared to him. "Old man Reiner will take care of cultivating the lands so we could start producing veggies and stuff. We can improve the fishery by getting the fishermen new boats, building new docks. That still leaves us with exotic meat and seafood. There's no way we can get them in the river town. Reginald said he will introduce some of the contacts we could use to get these things for a cheaper price. I'm thinking about letting Raylene and Gloria handle the negotiation. After all, Gloria is the manager and Raylene should come out of her shell." "I agree with that. Raylene is still too timid." Nightmare agreed with Gaia's plan. "You're right, let them handle it." It settled then. Gaia laid back on the bed with Michael. She rested her head on his hand as Nightmare and Vidora curled between them. "I was talking to Raylene the other day. She said there are a lot of things to be done before the marriage." "Oh, I'm listening." Michael winked at her. "Kids here, you perverted bastard." She quickly tried to cover Nightmare and Vidora's ears, but she neither had enough hands nor time to cover their ears before they heard and realized the hidden meaning behind Michael's words. "Lord Lucifer." Their playtime was interrupted suddenly by Arya. They heard her voice in their ears through the earbud. "Go ahead, Arya. Did you find anything?" "Lord Lucifer, Dark Queen. I'm at the Harbormaster's office. The container I told you about belongs to the Guardian Guild. They are going to load the container into a ship. Do you think the girls are inside?" Gaia asked. "I'm not sure, but something's precious inside, as the container is guarded by men in full plate armor. By the looks of them, they must be very powerful. Plus, they are doing constant routine checks, timed guard changes. Do you know where the container is going?" "No, Dark Queen, no mention about where it is going in the manifest. Don't engage them. We are coming." Michael jumped off from the bed with Gaia. In a blink of an eye, they both transformed into Lucifer and Dark Queen. "Let's go hunt." Check out the Discord if you want to see Diana/Harriet hunt. Chapter 311. At the edge of the cloud, there was a brilliant white patch, like a turning page catching the sun. The rest was dove gray with a subtle hint of purple, just enough to announce the coming sunset. The coastline welcomed sea and sky, the bluest of brothers, together with a covenant of everlasting beauty. Along with nature's evening sky and coastline, the man-made harbor formed a scene that looked like a painting. The ships of all sizes floated on the water, taking the rest they deserve before starting their journey. This was not a military harbor, so there weren't any warships like a brigade or man of war. The biggest ship that could be seen on the harbor was a merchant ship with 4 cannons on the top deck. The crane with a huge wheel attached to it kept producing creaking noises. One could see almost half of the royal land from the crane's top. When the last of the sunlight faded away from the place, 2 figures appeared on top of the crane. Their black capes fluttered in the wind. The light coming from the half-moon vaguely showed their bodies. "That's the ship." Gaia pointed at a lone ship silently floating on the water far from the rest of the ships. It was a merchant ship but didn't have any cannons. From the outside look, the ship looked no different than a typical merchant ship used to transport goods from one port to another, except Michael could see 10 core formation level 8 warriors on board disguised as crew members. "Where are the armored guys Arya was talking about?" Gaia asked. "Maybe in the below decks. We need to know their exact locations before doing anything human. They are not some weaklings we could waltz in and kill. It's time for a new skill," Michael thought as he entered the system with a specific skill in his mind. "System, I need you to take whatever points you need and get me the X-ray vision. Remember, I need to see what's inside the ship and container, so don't get me a level 1 skill and ask me to upgrade until I have no points left." "Geez, I get it. I know the right thing to give you, and I'll integrate it with Eyes of Darkness for 2,000 badass points. So the total of buying X-ray vision, upgrading it to max level, and integrating it with Eyes of Darkness would cost you 8,000 badass points. Get it done." He felt the familiar acute pain in his mind for a few moments. The moment the pain disappeared, he could feel another skill. Activating it was just as easy as breathing to him. When he willed his mind to activate the X-ray vision, the view in front of him turned dark blue. Soon, he started to see yellow and red shapes moving around. This was not just an X-ray vision. This was a thermal vision. He willed his mind again to change his vision as his vision changed into another, the night vision. He had a smile behind his mask as he changed his vision to X-ray vision. He could now see in 3 types of visions. In addition to 3 types of vision, he could zoom in. How cool was that? They are in the back, below decks. The girls are there too. Wait a minute. How do you know? Oh, I forgot to mention one thing, host. When he turned to look at Gaia, he couldn't help grinning, thinking about something. However, the system read his mind and decided to crash his mental party. "You cannot see people naked using your visions, he he he." The system let out a burst of evil laughter. It kinda sounded like a cartoon supervillain. "You really are a god in the making. Can't you give some of your powers to me?" She trusted Michael enough to not poke into his secret that he obviously couldn't share with her. Although she was proud and happy for him, she also felt a bit jealous. "I'm sharing. How do you think your cultivation speed is skyrocketing? Stop joking around. I'm awesome. That's the reason for my cultivation speed," she proudly exclaimed. Michael wrapped his hand around Gaia with utmost care and love. From the moment he met her to this moment, everything seemed like a dream to him. He cherished every moment he spent with her. "Let's stay like this for a little longer," she rested her head on Michael's shoulder. They were just about to engage in a battle, yet the wind, the scenery, the quietness brought them closer. "You know, if this conquering the world doesn't work, we could just leave this world and run off to some other worlds together. You said it yourself, I'm a god in the making. When was the last time you heard a god fail?" Ding, ding, ding. While they were embracing each other, a bell-ringing sound came from the harbor. Soon afterward, the ship with the core formation warriors slowly started to move. They didn't jump down from the crane to reach the ship. They just waited for the ship to sail far away from the harbor, so no one would be able to call for reinforcement from the land. Until now, Michael never directly messed with the Guardians. What the fuck are these Guardians doing with Silvermoon girls? I know they are a shady bunch, unlike many humans think, but this is too much. We can't say for sure the entire guild has a hand on the kidnappings. Maybe a few corrupted Guardians are the ones responsible for this. The Guardians were Michael's main foe, yet he couldn't believe the entire guild would involve in human trafficking. A few corrupted Guardians using their guild's power to do this shady thing seemed more likely. Even if we hand the scumbags responsible for this on a silver platter, the Guardians wouldn't do shit to them. They'll just tell us they would take care of the matter in-house. Best case, the scumbags will be stripped of their Guardian title. At worst, they will get a slap on the wrist. Typical, Michael snickered inside. The Guardian Guild wasn't too different from a government in some countries where politicians rarely got punished for their crimes. If the Guardians hadn't branded him as their foe who must be killed by any means necessary, Michael would have left them alone. Since that wasn't the case, he needed to root out the guild before they found out about his true identity and kill him. Come on, we should follow them at a safe distance. Michael slowly started to ascend to the sky with Gaia. He didn't cast the lightning dash to speed up his pace. They just followed the ship, keeping a safe distance from the ship. Due to their black armors, it was impossible to see them in the night without casting any spells. Wait, while Michael was flying above the ship, he noticed several defensive arrays on the upper deck thanks to the Eyes of Darkness. When he was in the treacherous ocean, he had to pop in a bunch of perception pills and depend on the system to break the illusion formations. But now, he could easily find the source points to break the formations. Although he found the source points, destroying from where he was would reveal his location as well as alert the guards. That's where Gaia came in. He quickly bought a laser pointer from the system for 100 badass points. What? Can you shoot that exact point from here?
Can I?
Humph, she sneered as the bow of Legolas painted in black materialized in her hand. She knocked an arrow, feeling the wind's direction before releasing it. The arrow soared through the arrow like a bullet. The moment the arrow hit the place pointed by the laser, Michael saw the defensive formation fade away. The guards were oblivious to the formation's disappearance. That's how you break a formation: find the source point, destroy it. Michael explained the reason why he asked to shoot that place. How many formations are remaining? She nodded before asking. One on the rudder stage, one on the crow's nest. Use the ice arrows. The first formation was located on the ship's far back, so firing an arrow did not alert the guards. However, there was a guard steering the rudder, and another one would soon come to take the crow's nest so he or she could watch over the skies and the sea around. If they found the arrows, they would alert the guards, which might make killing them difficult. Stealth seemed to be the best option to kill the warriors, especially the 2 core strengthening stage cultivators. Who knows what kind of spells they possess? Therefore, Michael wanted to kill them as discreetly as possible. Because of his alchemy trait, he created a new type of liquid. Mixing the liquid with water made the ice arrows immune to the fraction produced when flying through the air. Hence, the ice arrows won't dissolve in the air before hitting the target. However, after hitting the target, the liquid mixed water's molecular structure would be changed due to the collision force, resulting in immediate evaporation. The only downside of using the ice arrows as they weren't strong enough to penetrate a human body. That downside didn't matter when it came to destroying source points. Gaia quickly fired an arrow to the formation source point on the crow's nest before flying to the rudder stage, where they saw a core formation warrior steering the rudder while whistling carefree. Currently, there were 5 core formation guards roaming on the upper deck on top of the guard at the rudder. One of them reached the crow's nest with a quick swift jump. Boom! Boom! The sound of thunderclaps could be heard coming from a distance. In addition to streaks of lightning, he saw a tornado forming in the distance. We should use that storm as a distraction to kill them all, she said. What's on Michael's mind? With a nod, Michael moved away from the ship instead of taking a risk of firing the ice arrow to the formation source point on the rudder stage. Chapter 3:12. This is why I hate the oceans. Bloody hell, mate. Let the others know we are running into a storm. Secure the cargo. I don't want anything to happen to the cargo. The core formation guards on the upper deck talked to each other while staring at the brewing storm on the horizon. Among the 6 guards on the upper deck, 2 were standing on the ship's front, 1 was standing on the crow's nest, 1 on each side of the ship tending the sail masts. The 6th one was the guy steering the rudder. Luckily they were all staring at the storm as none kept an eye on the rudder steering guard. Unfortunately, the source point of the formation on the rudder stage was beside the rudder steering guard. Even if she fired an ice arrow, the noise would alert the guard. Full Lucifer mode. The moment he ordered the system, his eyes began to shine in crimson red while the cloud of darkness, a cloud of black smoke, enveloped Michael around. That's the point. Wait for my signal before firing. Michael cast the lightning dash spell right when a lightning flash appeared to reach the guard. Just a second before reaching the guard, he also cast the death range, making the rudder stage completely dark. Ha! The guard was startled by the sudden darkness around him. But before he could do anything, Michael grabbed him from behind, taking off to the sky immediately. Crack! Michael snapped the guard's neck midway in the air. Breaking a neck was not as simple as they show in movies. It required technique, strength, and training. He had everything. The strength enhancement he got from death range made breaking the guard's neck as easy as breaking an egg. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core formation stage. Level 8 Cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points and 1,000 badass points. The moment he killed the guard, Gaia fired the ice arrow, breaking the last defensive formation. Take care of the two in the front. I'll take the other two. Gaia nodded as she flew towards the ship's front from the back. The guards' focus was on the storm, so they didn't notice Gaia above them through the dark night. Plus, they were carefree because of the defensive formations, as they depended on the formations to alert them if there was an intruder on the ship. Michael was hovering directly above his two targets while Gaia stayed a few meters away from her targets so she could kill the two of them as quickly as possible. Go! The moment Michael gave the signal, she fired 2 arrows within a second. Each of them pierced the head of its target. On the other hand, Michael landed right between his targets before sending 2 lightning bolts from each hand at each target. Just like Gaia's arrows, Michael's lightning bolts also pierced its target's head. The guards didn't even have a moment to react. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core formation stage. Level 8 Cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points and 1,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core formation stage. Level 8 Cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points and 1,000 badass points. Ding! Subordinate Gaia killed a core formation stage. Level 8 Cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points. Ding! Subordinate Gaia killed a core formation stage. Level 8 Cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Core Formation Stage Level 9. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is Core Formation Stage Level 10. Hey! Whoosh! Zizai! The arrow and the bolt of lightning hit the guard standing on the crow nest before he could even close his mouth. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core formation stage. Level 8 Cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points and 1,000 badass points. The system has stockpiled the excess experience points for the host to break through later. He almost forgot about the points needed to break through to the core strengthening stage. Hearing the system notification in his mind put a grin on his face. Since he reached the core formation stage 10, his overall power increased significantly than before. Therefore, killing the 2 core strengthening stage cultivators would be much easier. Wait a sec, Michael said to Gaia when she landed on the deck. Under her gaze, he cast the lightning dash to reach one of the guards he just killed. He quickly picked up the body, tossing it into the ocean. As he disposed of the body, he didn't dare to steal their space rings for safety precautions. She continued to watch him throw the bodies one by one into the raging ocean. The howling sound created by the storm became louder and louder. Since there was no one at the rudder steering the ship away from the tornado, the ship was getting pulled in like iron towards a magnet. The raging sea violently hit the ship, shaking it to the point both Michael and Gaia had a hard time standing still. We need to finish this before that finishes everything. Gaia pointed at the giant tornado swirling in the distance. Don't fret it, Michael calmly said before opening up the latch beneath him to go down to the lower decks where they were keeping the girls. Through the creaky stairs, Michael and Gaia reached the lower decks. The howling sound of the wind became silent after closing the hatch. They were welcomed by a dark corridor with a couple of lanterns hanging on the wall to give just barely enough light to see what's in front of them. Using the X-ray vision, Michael located the remaining guards in the lower deck. The 2 core formation guards seemed to be playing a card game in one of the rooms 10 meters away from Michael. The 2 core strengthening stage cultivators were sitting in a meditative position in front of the girls. The girls seemed to be in a wooden container. All the girls were tied, but some of them were trying to move. The others, however, remained still. Michael and Gaia slowly sneaked towards the core formation guards. Go kill the core strengthening guards, I'll handle these 2, said Gaia. He knew she could kill them without a problem, yet he needed to do one little thing before leaving her. Michael squatted on the floor, looking at the space between the door and the floor. He then willed the system to give him the fear toxin vials in the storage. As he poured down the fear toxin, it evaporated into the room through the space. With this amount of fear toxin, it won't freak them out as usual, but it will mess with their mind. Be careful. After nodding, Gaia whispered. Giving a little nod, Michael left Gaia to reach the room where the girls and the last 2 guards are. The wooden door to the room was shut closed. From the other side, Michael could sense the arch energy circulation. The two guards were obviously cultivating despite the shakiness of the ship. They were oblivious to the fact the ship is heading towards a storm. Michael scanned the room for any formations. Luckily he found no formations. Just like before, Michael squatted down to send fear toxin into the room through the space between the door and the floor. He was careful not to make any sound. In a few seconds, he poured 4 vials of fear toxin into the room. If there were no girls inside, he would have poured 4 more to completely mess with the guards' minds. Since that was not the case, he had to be careful with the amount of fear toxin he should pour or the girls would die inhaling the toxin. After pouring enough fear toxin, he slowly turned the doorknob to open. The door creaked open to reveal 2 bald men in their early 40s cultivating in front of a wooden cargo container. The moment Michael closed the door behind, the 2 cultivators abruptly opened their eyes. So much for stealth, he thought. The old door creaked more than Michael wanted. Hence, the creaking sound made the cultivators open their eyes. "Who are you?" one of the bald men asked as they stood up. "Lucifer." The other one quickly recognized Michael. The 2 of them suddenly shook their heads as the fear toxin started to take effect. Their pupils began to dilate. Although the fear toxin would make them hallucinate and kindle the darkest fear in their hearts, it wouldn't last long. The stronger the cultivator, the less the fear toxin's effect on them. That was why Michael couldn't go kill all the stronger cultivators using the fear toxin. Death range. Michael immediately cast the death range spell as the fear toxin's effect would fade away in a couple of minutes max. The room was completely darkened by the spell. Lightning dash. While they were stunned by the fear toxin and the death range spell, he used the lightning dash to close the gap between them. Pulch. Pulch. Michael stabbed the both of them in their throats with needles dosed in his paralyzing poison. The paralyzing poison prevented the cultivators from casting spells. The 2 guards stumbled backward. Michael didn't stop as he used the lightning dash yet again. This time, he stabbed them with a dagger repeatedly. Since they were core-strengthening cultivators, he needed to use all of his strength to send the dagger into their bodies. Pulch. 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 The blood kept splashing on Michael's suit of armor every time he stabbed them. He focused on their throats because throats were soft, as well as stabbing them in the throat would stop them from casting spells. It took Michael 20 stabs to make them fall down. In addition to paralyzing poison and fear toxin, Michael needed to cast death range as well as use the maximum speed of lightning dash to make the 2 core strengthening stage cultivators fall down. Even after getting stabbed 20 times in the throat and chest, they were still alive. Ding. Subordinate Gaia killed a core formation stage, level 8 cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points. Ding. Subordinate Gaia killed a core formation stage, level 8 cultivator. The reward is 210,000 experience points. Chapter 313. The ocean breathed, her surface rising and falling with rhythmic ease. The waves became her pulse that day, the echo of the souls she kept safe in her cradle of brine. Unlike the ocean he just left, the ocean in front of Michael was calm. The ocean breeze wrapped around him as the warmest of soft towels. The wind had become the orchestral conductor of the sea, sending waves into their crescendos all through the ballad that was the night. All about us was the perfume of the salty water and the fine spray that came as boldly as any viola flurry. It was as if the life of ones had entered the water, and the energy was so great that this great pulse came upward to form a steady rhythm. The sea is infinite blue in infinite weather patterns, yet in all this, she is the prettiest color Michael ever saw. On the calm, the silent reaper floated like it was dancing with the ocean in a beautiful rhythm. The thrones which were previously placed in the captain's cabin were moved to the upper deck as Michael and Gaia rested on their thrones staring at the crew and the thing that was covered in grayish cloth. No one knew what's behind the cloth. They could only guess that whatever behind the cloth was at least 6 feet tall. Since Heinberg had been working with Senator Caius to reform the Senate and Tiberius was helping his people settle down in Gisel, Michael only brought Maxine to the ship to witness what he was about to do. In addition to Maxine, Sadie stood beside Maxine. Her eyes were red, her face was pale and tears kept trickling out of her eyes. Except for Gibson, who stood behind Michael's throne, the crew members gathered around them keeping a distance. Among them, Shorty was shivering, not due to the coldness of the night but because of alcohol withdrawal. The cloudless sky let the abundance of moonlight that brightened the ship with its glimmering blue light. Michael rested his head on his fist, reliving the battle he just fought in his mind. By reliving the battle, he gained more knowledge about his weaknesses as well as strengths. System version 3.0 Host, Michael Cultivation Level, Core Formation Stage, Level 10 Experience Points. 400,000/400,000, 1,300,000 points remaining to be consumed, Badass Points. 125,000 Skills and Spells. Wind Blast, LVL3 Responsive Shield, LVL4 Environment Scanning, LVL3 Ignitia, LVL3 Lightning Dash, LVL3 Energy Devour, LVL1 Death Range, LVL3 Eyes of Darkness, Normal. Can sense the cultivation level of others. Eyes of Darkness, Lucifer. Can sense the cultivation level of others, can see through. Illusions Cloud of Darkness, Lucifer. Weak-willed enemies will lose their courage completely and surrender. Death range will be 50% more powerful. If activated in darkness, the host's cultivation level will be boosted 4 levels up regardless of the stage barrier. Wordless Spellcaster, Lucifer. In full Lucifer form, the host just has to think of the spell to cast it. Techniques: Swords of Destiny, 93% Mastery Ring of Fire, 69% Mastery Serpent Maga, 90% Mastery Occupation. Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal, the Dark Lord status. Healthy goals: Control the world, rebuild the Order of Death. Utility function: Banker, LVL3, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 10 badass points. Runic Teleportation, X-ray Vision, also integrated with Eyes of Darkness. Wealth: 1,900,000 gold. Special trait: 5-star Alchemist, 3-star. Inventor subordinates: Gaia, Warrior. Loyalty level 100%. Raylene, 5-star Chef. Loyalty level 99%. Arya, Assassin. Loyalty level 38%. Heinberg, Warrior. Loyalty level 35%. Maxine, Warrior. Loyalty level 98%. Tiberius, Warrior. Loyalty level 45%. Sadie, Loyalty level 30%. The Silent Reaper Crew, Pirates, Loyalty level 85%. Base of Operation: Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal, the Crypt, the Silent Reaper Familiars. Nightmare, Forest Dragon, Vidora, 3-headed Hydra. After willing the system to show his status, he just stared at the status for a few moments. System: Show me how powerful my spells are. It's becoming hard to perceive who can or cannot be killed with my spells. Reforming the status window will cost the host 1,000 badass points. Take it. Reforming the status window. Showing host the spells with more information. Skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL3. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can blast people and mess with celestial energy flow. Michael sighed seeing the system's information about the Wind Blast. It was right though. He had no confusion or questions about the Wind Blast. The more he used the spell, the more control he achieved over the air element. In the beginning, he could only send a couple of blasts of wind from one hand. Now he could send several wind blasts from both of his hands. In addition, he could reshape the blasts into crescent-shaped wind blades. Although the crescent blades were not powerful enough to cut a person in half, it was powerful enough to leave a nasty cut, especially if he attacked anyone below the body strengthening stage. Responsive Shield, LVL4. Absorb any spell attacks from anyone on or below the stage body strengthening stage. Environment Scanning, LVL30. The spell would detect hostiles and friendlies in a 20 m radius. Ignitia, LVL3. The spell can kill anyone on or below core formation level 3, ignoring the defensive spells belonging to the class rare or below. The spell's power would be decreased by 50%, 75% by defensive spells belonging to the class epic and legendary respectively. After casting Death Range, Ignitia can kill anyone on or below core formation level 6, ignoring the defensive spells belonging to the class rare or below. Lightning Dash, LVL3. Anyone on or under the body strengthening stage wouldn't be able to spot the host, but bolts of lightning. Cultivators below core formation 4 could make out the host's figure in a blurry vision. To the eyes of cultivators above core formation 4, the host will move 30% faster. After casting Death Range, anyone on or under the core formation level 6 stage wouldn't be able to spot the host, but bolts of lightning energy devour, LVL1. Specific types of arch energy could be absorbed and transformed into experience points. System level is too low to give more information. Death Range, LVL3. The host's power will rise by 30%. Eyes of Darkness, normal. Can sense the cultivation level of others. Eyes of Darkness, Lucifer. can sense the cultivation level of others, can see through illusions. Cloud of darkness, Lucifer. Weak-willed enemies will lose their courage completely and surrender. Death range will be 50% more powerful, if activated in darkness. The host's cultivation level will be boosted 4 levels up regardless of the stage barrier. Wordless spellcaster, Lucifer. In full Lucifer form, the host just has to think of the spell to cast it. A while after pondering, Michael decided to upgrade a few of the existing ones before buying new spells. Okay, I think I should first upgrade the responsive shield. Level 5 responsive shield will be able to absorb any spell attacks from anyone on or below the stage core formation level 2. Cost: 10,000 badass points for upgrading it to level 5. 15,000 badass points for upgrading it to level 6, which would absorb any spell attacks from anyone at or below the stage core formation level 4. I'm confused. Do I have to spend 25,000 to upgrade it to level 6? Or I can give you 15,000 points to jump from level 4 to level 6. Yeah, you wish. You need to spend 10,000 badass points to upgrade the spell from level 4 to level 5 and 15,000 points to upgrade it from level 5 to level 6. The system recommends the host upgrade the spell instead of being stingy with points. You have no other defense spells in your arsenal, and who knows how many freaks would compete in the tournament. The system was right. He couldn't be cocky or half-prepared, especially when he knew that prodigies from all over the Elon continent would come to the tournament. If he didn't upgrade the spell to at least level 6, any core formation prodigy with epic or legendary spell could easily kill him. Upgrade the spell. Good decision. The system appreciated Michael's decision. The next moment the number of badass points decreased from 125,000 to 100,000. Next one should be Lightning Dash. In level 4, anyone at or under the core formation stage level 5 wouldn't be able to spot the host but bolts of lightning. Cultivators from core formation level 6 to level 8 could make out the host's figure in a blurry vision. To the eyes of cultivators above core formation 8, the host will move 40% faster. Upgrading it to level 4 would cost the host 20,000 badass points. Upgrade it, Michael said without any hesitation. After upgrading, the responsive shield could protect him from anyone at or below core formation level 4. When dealing with anyone above this level, he could use Lightning Dash that would give him enough speed to escape from their offensive spell and kill them using his swords or spells. Next spell, Xianxia. In level 4, Xianxia can kill anyone at or below core formation level 5, ignoring the defensive spells belonging to the class rare or below. The spell's power would be decreased by 40%, 70% by defensive spells belonging to the class epic and legendary respectively. The upgrade will cost you 30,000 badass points. I need to ask, what about people above core formation level 6? There's no direct answer whether you could kill them with one lightning bolt or many. It depends on the target's defensive spell. Basically, if you're attacking anyone above core formation level 6 who did not cast any defensive spell, Xianxia can wound them severely or even take their life if you aim for the vital parts. However, if they cast any defensive spells, you won't be able to kill them with one shot. So what's the point in leveling up when I can just upgrade the spells using badass points? You can't upgrade the spells if you are not strong enough. Don't forget that your cultivation stage will affect the power of your spells. The more you level up, the more powerful your spells would become. Alright, upgrade Xianxia to level 4. As he was leveling up and upgrading the spells, he realized one thing: everything had become much more complicated than before. Moving forward, he knew he must be cautious and plan everything as he did on Earth. I have posted the character image of Harriet Hunt with her theme music. Come check it out. Chapter 314. After upgrading the spells, he had 50,000 badass points remaining. However, he was not finished upgrading his spells. System, I need you to tell me how much would it cost me to upgrade the runic teleportation so I can teleport people who are not my subordinates without buying teleportation scrolls every single time? Every time he teleported someone who's not his subordinate, it cost him from 4,000 badass points to 10,000 points depending on the teleportation destination and number of people he had to teleport. If he could teleport people by any other means, he wouldn't have to carry the container to the Silent Reaper. Why do you want to do that? Michael sensed a slight panic in its voice. The system was happily selling him teleportation scrolls. Hearing him want to change his methods frightened the system, as it wouldn't get many badass points as it did before. Can you or can you not? Michael very well knew the reason for the system's panic. Of course the system can. But unlike the teleportation scrolls, the runic teleportation will be able to only teleport 3 people who are not the host's subordinates at once. It would cost you 45,000 badass points. The system recommends you to keep buying teleportation scrolls as they are more time efficient and take less toll on your body. Oh, you recommend? Michael chuckled. No need, just upgrade the runic teleportation. You do know that you can't use runic teleportation while you're in a battle, right? I know, system. I'm not gonna keep buying your teleportation scrolls unless I absolutely have to. So be it. The system sounded mad. Soon his badass points decreased to 5,000 points, ending his upgrade spree. He wanted to upgrade Wind Blast if he had enough points. Since it wasn't the case, he decided to upgrade the spell later. Although he didn't upgrade the spell, leveling up gave the spell enough power boost to knock out a group of weak cultivators in a few seconds. System version 3. 0 host, Michael cultivation level, core formation stage, level 10 experience points. 400000/400000, 1,300,000 points remaining to be consumed, badass points. 125,000 skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL3 responsive shield, LVL5 environment scanning, LVL3 ignition, LVL4 lightning dash, LVL4 energy devour, LVL1 death range, LVL3 eyes of darkness, normal. Can sense the cultivation level of others' eyes of darkness, Lucifer. Can sense the cultivation level of others, can see through. Illusions cloud of darkness, Lucifer. Weak-willed enemies will lose their courage completely and surrender. Death range will be 50% more powerful. If activated in darkness, the host's cultivation level will be boosted 4 levels up regardless of the stage barrier. Wordless spellcaster, Lucifer. In full Lucifer form, the host just has to think of the spell to cast it. Techniques: Swords of Destiny, 93% Mastery Ring of Fire, 69% Mastery Serpent Maga, 90% Mastery Occupation. Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal, the Dark Lord status. Healthy goals: Control the world, rebuild the Order of Death, utility function. Banker, LVL3, ratio, 1,000 gold coins. 10 badass points. Runic teleportation, X-ray vision, also integrated with Eyes of Darkness. Wealth: 1,900,000 gold, special trait. 5-star alchemist, 3-star. Inventor subordinates: Gaia, warrior, loyalty level 100%. Raylene, 5-star chef, loyalty level 99%. Arya, assassin, loyalty level 38%. Heinberg, warrior, loyalty level 35%. Maxine, warrior, loyalty level 98%. Tiberius, warrior, loyalty level 45%. Sadie, loyalty level 30%. The Silent Reaper crew, pirates, loyalty level 85%. Base of operation: Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal, the Crypt, the Silent Reaper familiars. Nightmare, Forest Dragon, Vidora, 3-headed Hydra. After taking a second look at his status window, he was satisfied. He exited the system to see everyone staring at him. His eyes were fixed on Shorty, who was shivering due to the alcohol withdrawal. Shorty's determination to become a cultivator surprised him. At first, he thought Shorty was asking him to become a cultivator for fun, but his determination told Michael that fun wasn't the only thing Shorty is looking for. Sadie was still sobbing. Her anger was overshadowed by guilt and grief. Turning his gaze back to Shorty, Michael began to speak. He was still in his full Lucifer form, so his voice wasn't humane. It sounded unearthly. Gibson, tell me how many types of people there are in this world? Michael asked Gibson, who was standing behind the throne. 2 kinds, good and bad? Gibson said with uncertainty. Do you know the difference between them? Michael asked. Good people are good, bad people are bad? Yet again, Gibson sounded uncertain. None of them had a clue why Michael was asking these questions, including Gaia. That's a textbook answer, Gibson. In real life, the answer is much different than that. Michael stood up from his throne. Good people think if they don't hurt others, they don't get hurt. They try to live by a code of honor or the word of God or anything that lets them sleep at night peacefully. They don't realize they are just prey for the bad ones. As he was speaking, he walked to Sadie. Even if they do realize it, they can't do what's necessary to protect themselves and people they care about. The code they live by, it's a prison that hurts them forever. If they end up in a mess, they just expect someone else to save them. The funny thing is, they expect that someone else will clean up their mess without crossing their code. If he or she did, The good ones brand them as evil, dark ones, etc., etc. Michael made his way towards the cloth wrap thing. Let me show you the difference between a good person and a bad one. He took off the cloth after speaking to reveal the two bloodied core strengthening cultivators. They were tied up to separate poles. The cloth wrapped around their mouths prevented them from screaming or making a sound. These two pathetic worms helped someone kidnap 40 young girls, witnessed the girls suffer unspeakable things, and finally, they tried to smuggle the girls somewhere. Probably whoever asked them to kidnap the girls planned to sell them as slaves for a price. Tears broke out of Sadie's eyes as Michael went on. 20 girls died in that container and the rest of them have been scared for the rest of their lives. Now those girls were good girls who just obeyed an order of their superior. Michael put his hand on one of the cultivator's shoulders. He started to apply pressure as the shoulder bone began to crack. The cultivator's scream of agony was muffled by the cloth. The cracking sound of the bone gave a chilling to the pirates. Sadie here is also a good girl. She tried her absolute best to find those girls and she even went to such a height to summon me. He flicked his wrist as a dagger materialized in Michael's hand. He ran the dagger slowly on the cultivator's body. The dagger was so sharp it kept making shallow cuts on the cultivator's body wherever Michael ran the dagger. She thinks she did everything she could to save those girls. But what about doing something to punish the person responsible for this? Sadie, can you do what's necessary to find the person who is responsible? From these 2-inch Michael asked. Everyone turned their gazes towards Sadie. Since they didn't see the ravaged status of the girls in the container, they didn't feel any anger or sadness but were just curious to see what Michael was going to ask her to do. She slowly walked towards the two cultivators. Her body shivered in anger as her eyes turned redder and redder. When she came closer, Michael placed the dagger in Sadie's hands. Make them tell you who ordered the kidnapping and where they were transporting the girls. You know what to do. Michael stepped aside. He folded his arms, waiting patiently for Sadie to start the interrogation although he knew what's about to happen. Just cut them open slowly, of course. We don't want them to die, at least not yet, Gaia said sitting on her throne. The cultivators mumbled. I forgot to tell you, you are on the southern continent. So no use in trying to cast spells. A glimmer of shock emerged in their eyes. Soon the glimmer of shock turned into utter helplessness. No matter how hard the cultivators struggled against the pole or the rope that tied them, they couldn't escape. Come on, Sadie. What are you waiting for? Michael asked as Sadie slowly moved the dagger in her hands towards the cultivators. Her hands were shaking. Who ordered you to? Sadie stuttered. She placed the dagger in the cultivator's body yet she couldn't cut his flesh. Torturing people was not her strong suit. Even though she was overwhelmingly angry at the two of them, she couldn't get herself to torture them. What's the hesitation, Sadie? Do you think the guys who ravaged those girls showed any hesitation? Michael calmly asked before removing the cloth from one cultivator's mouth. You're dead. You're all dead. The moment Michael removed the cloth, the cultivator screamed. You stupid bitch, he spat on Sadie's face. Since Michael gave them enough healing potions, their wounds were all healed up. They kept screaming for your help until we knocked the teeth off their beautiful mouths. Looking at his evil grin, even some of the pirates wanted to grab the dagger from Sadie's hands and start cutting him into pieces. When they find you all, we do much worse to your wives, daughters, mothers. And you bitch, they are planning something real nice for you, he said looking at Sadie with menacing eyes. Chapter 315. The two cultivators almost shed their fear after hearing they are in the southern continent because they knew they wouldn't be able to escape. Hence, instead of begging for their lives, they antagonized everyone. Let me help you get started. Michael grabbed Sadie's hand from behind. He moved the dagger towards the cultivator's chest. Arg, the cultivator grumbled as Michael slowly applied pressure to the dagger. The dagger gradually penetrated the skin around the cultivator's left nipples. Michael felt Sadie trying to move the dagger back. I can't. Finally Michael let go of her hand. Sadie stumbled backward away from the cultivator before dropping the dagger on the ground. No matter how angry she was, she couldn't torture them. She did not have it in her. Stupid bitch, the cultivator cursed in pain. Everything happened as Michael expected. With a gentle stomp to the ground, the dagger flew right back into his hand. He then turned back to look at his crew. You see, even when the scumbags who hurt her and the people she cared about are standing right in front of her, she can't do what's necessary. Because she's a good person. Being a good person is not the way to go sometimes. Sometimes you need to be bad, you need to be evil to get what you want, to get it done what must be done, as he said. He threw the dagger to Maxine. Show them how it's done. With pleasure, Lord Lucifer. Maxine grinned evilly. Seeing the menacing look on her face, the cultivators felt a chill running through their spines. Another bitch! He cursed to hide the fear in his heart. Maxine just smiled as she got closer to him. She started from where Sadie left off. Who gave the order to kidnap those girls? She asked with a smile. Go fooey, Arch. Maxine made a quick cut circling his nipple as the cultivator experienced a hellish pain. There was no arch energy to ease his pain. She ripped off his nipple. Many of the pirates felt a tingling sensation witnessing the scene. You have many parts one could cut, including your favorite one. She tapped the bloodied dagger on his crotch. By the look in her eyes, the cultivator could tell she's not playing around. I'm not gonna ask you again. I'll just keep cutting you piece by piece until you give me an answer. She moved the dagger to the right side. A line of blood trail appeared from left to right. Ark! Just like before, she made a cut around his other nipple. This is gonna get only worse for you, Michael reminded the cultivator while walking towards the other cultivator who was not getting tortured by Maxine. Don't forget about our guest here, Maxine. The cultivator's cries were muffled by the cloth. No one felt a shed of pity for the two cultivators, especially not the ones who saw the condition of the girls. Back on Earth, Michael witnessed gory scenes while dealing with human traffickers, but compared to what the Silver Moon girls went through, the girls on Earth had it easy. I'm getting bored here. How about we spice things up? Gaia stood up from her throne. While she was walking towards Maxine, a ball of hot red flame appeared above her hand. What do you have in mind, Dark Queen? Maxine asked as Gaia turned back to look at Gibson. It's a bit chilly here. Go bring me the oil barrel, we're gonna have a bonfire. Yes, Dark Queen. Gibson was one of the few people who saw the girls. After seeing those girls, he wanted everyone who had a hand in this nefarious human trafficking to suffer. He limped off to the below deck to bring the oil barrel, taking a few crew members. You're all gonna pay. The Guardian Guild will hunt you down. The cultivator screamed. Beneath his mad cry, there was a hint of fear. You don't get it, do you? Michael grabbed the cultivator by his neck. They are not hunting me. I'm hunting them. The images of the ravaged girls flashed across Michael's eyes as his hold around the cultivator's neck tightened. The cultivator's eyes started to bulge. The oil is here, Dark Queen. Hearing Gibson's voice, Michael let go of the neck. The cultivator breathed heavily as the redness slowly appeared back on his face. Aha! Pour the oil on them, Gaia ordered Gibson. As you wish, Dark Queen. There was no hesitation in Gibson's voice. As far as he was concerned, no amount of torture is enough for the two cultivators. One of the pirates handed Gibson a bucket to pour the oil on the two. Michael patiently waited for Gibson to finish pouring the oil. He was glad to see this side of Gibson, as Michael would rather have a few ruthless subordinates than 100 soft-hearted ones. Sadie watched Gibson pouring the oil on the two cultivators without uttering a single word. Before actually meeting the two, she wanted to make them suffer. However, when she was given the opportunity, she simply couldn't. The smell of strong crude oil permeated the air. Whoever answers the question first lives and get to leave this ship alive, and the other burns slowly. A glimmer of hope appeared in the cultivator's eyes. Before escaping her home kingdom, she orchestrated many tortures in the dungeons beneath her castle. She would torture the criminals who enjoyed torturing others. Of course, Zanali and her mother strictly prohibited torture in prisons, but that didn't stop Gaia from doing it secretly. Because of her prior experience, she could tell who would break and who would die before giving out the needed information. The two cultivators in front of her looked like the latter type. Hence, she decided to give them hope of escaping, as it would mostly work with their type. There was a strong possibility for the two cultivators to lie, yet she wouldn't have come this far if she couldn't detect a lie. Let's begin. Gaia snapped as the ball of fire above her hand split into two. The two orbs of fire gradually floated towards the two cultivators. Maxine removed the cloth from the other cultivator's mouth so he could speak up. Shit, the cultivator who was antagonizing everyone cursed under his breath. I won't tell you shit, the cultivator shouted, but the other one who didn't get tortured by Maxine had mixed emotions written on his face. Tick-tock, assholes. Tick-tock, Gaia snickered as the fireball got closer and closer to them. Will you really let me go if I tell you everything I know? Shut up, Carl. The one who got tortured shouted at the other one. Carl, however, didn't even look at him as all of Carl's focus was on the approaching fireball. "You have my word, Carl. Tell us everything and we will let you go," Michael reassured Carl. Carl felt the warmth of the fire. He knew it's only a matter of seconds before he burns alive. Getting burnt to death was not worth any amount of gold coins. It's Minister Magnus. Since Sadie also doubted he's the one behind all this, Michael and Gaia knew Carl is telling them the truth. "We have a winner here, boys." Gaia clapped as the fireball approaching Carl disappeared while the other one lighted the oil. "Ah!" The scream of the cultivator reverberated in the sea. He kept twitching as the fire completely enveloped him. The fire burnt the ropes that tied him to the pole. He tried to roll on the ground except it was too late. "Look at how he's enjoying his fire bath, Carl," Gaia chuckled evilly. "We can give you the same experience if you don't tell us everything. I mean everything you know." Carl's face was completely pale. He saw his colleagues charred remaining on the ground, radiating smoke. Just thinking about it made Carl's hair stand up straight. "Maxine, bring Carl to our room." Maxine nodded before dragging Carl behind Gaia towards the captain's cabin. Michael on the other hand walked towards Sadie. She was still looking pale as her body kept shaking. "If you don't come out of your shell, more people you care about will get hurt. Think about it while you bury your fallen sisters." As he walked past Sadie, Gibson came to him. "Lord Lucifer, what about the rest of them?" Sadie turned back. She didn't know what to do with the girls. They should go to Tiberius land. After everything that happened to them, they need to be with people they can relate to. Coordinate with Heinberg and see to it personally. Considering Tiberius people were slaves who endured the abuse of their masters for years and overcame the trauma, Michael thought it would be better if the girls went there instead of Elon. Sending them back to Elon would only make everything worse for them. Lord Lucifer," Sadie stuttered as Michael stopped walking. "Can I say my goodbyes to them? You were responsible for them. So they will blame you and your sect for everything. You can watch the girls settling down from a distance." After speaking these words, Michael entered the captain's cabin. "Lord Lucifer is right, Mississippi. Those poor girls have suffered enough. You meeting them will bring back memories they must forget." Gibson gently patted Sadie's shoulder to console her. Sadie broke down into tears. Deep down she knew they were right. They are going to a much better place, Mississippi. That place and the people living there will help them overcome their trauma. I wrote an elaborate sick gory torture scene, but I learned that it might get flagged as the novel is for the general audience. So I cut them down. Hope you still enjoy the chapter and let me know your thoughts. Chapter 316. A pointy ears woman was standing in front of a plain glass window. She stared at the ocean beneath her. The clouds slowly brushed past the window. "He's their Alpha Guardian." Another pointy ears woman walked into the room. The woman put her cloak on her head before turning back. So the Kethan kid was right. The Alpha Guardian had a surprised look on her face. She then walked towards the door with royal grace. After leaving her room, the Alpha Guardian saw several huge telescopes with golden runs glowing on them. Her team of guardians was looking through the telescope to keep the target in their sight. All of them were standing under an arch-shaped glass ceiling. The hall slowly moved through the clouds. One could see several runes in various shapes flickering on the glass ceiling. The bright moonlight acted as their chandelier, giving its radiant blue to light up the hall. "Are the rune archers ready?" the Alpha Guardian asked her assistant. "They are in place, Alpha Guardian." The Alpha Guardian looked through the glass to see several figures dressed in white to blend with the clouds floating in the air with huge crossbows in their hands. Her gaze then locked on the ship floating on the horizon. "Alpha Guardian." Another one entered the room. The figure quickly knelt in front of the Alpha Guardian before taking off the cloak. "Is your team ready, Guardian Peyton?" "We are waiting for your order, Alpha Guardian." "Lead them well, Guardian Peyton." Peyton's brows arched up in surprise. She was lost for words after hearing the Alpha Guardian. "I cannot cross the void line as it might wake up something that shouldn't be woken up. So I'll trust you to lead the team." The Alpha Guardian's tone sounded like an order. In front of her, Peyton was meek as a house cat. "You won't regret this, Alpha Guardian." Peyton never looked so proud and confident in her life before. She now had the power of the entire Hunter Guardians behind her. Just as Peyton was about to leave, the Alpha Guardian called her. "Peyton, we don't take prisoners." Her words were cold, filled with murderous intent. Peyton nodded obediently before leaving the hall. "Tiriana." After Peyton left the hall, the Alpha Guardian called her second in command. Alpha Guardian. Shadow them and protect the Kethan kid. He's not ready yet. As you wish, Alpha Guardian. But why send him in at all if this is not safe for him? For the rest of the Guardian Guild, Tiriana was Alpha Guardian's second in command, but in reality, they were best friends. Hence, only Tiriana had the guts to question the Alpha Guardian. Because Peyton is not a leader, he is. Before Tiriana could ask another question, the Alpha Guardian answered her question as she had read Tiriana's mind. Peyton is expendable like all of us, Tiri, but not him. So shall we leave? I need a good night's sleep before the tournament. Gaia was lying on the bed as Michael was modifying the APD to be undetectable during the tournament. Instead of sleeping, you should cultivate. Do not underestimate your opponents, Snake. Have some faith, jerk. It's not like I'm going to lose to a bunch of body-strengthening kids. She sent a bolt of arch energy to hit him on the shoulder with a flick. I'm not talking about the run-of-the-mill cultivators. I'm talking about the prodigies. Speaking about prodigies, Gaia turned sideways on the bed to look at him. You are not as mad as I thought about human trafficking. You're awfully calm. What would you want me to do? Loose my screws and go berserk on Minister Magnus. You of all people know there are thousands of people who get hurt every day. We can't stop them all, or it's not our focus right now. Michael finally fixed the APD with the help of the system. He put the APD back around his wrist. What happened to those girls was indeed a tragedy, but every tragedy comes with an opportunity. I just utilized it. If we were to go with the plan of recruiting Sadie before, she would have contacted the Guardian Guild in a split second. But now Michael just grinned. You're cold as fuck and that's why I love you. She jumped up from the bed towards him. Wrapping her hands around his neck from behind, she gently landed a soft kiss on his cheek. Boom. What the? Just as she was about to reach for his lips, the entire shoe violently shook. She would have thrown off to the wall if it wasn't for her hands around his neck. Michael's face immediately turned serious as he detected several hostiles approaching the ship from all directions. They appeared so suddenly. We are under attack. Boom. Boom. The ship shook again as the booming sound continued to reverberate. Soon, the wall behind Michael's throne was obliterated into millions of wooden splinters by a 5-meter-long purple arrow. Lightning dash. He immediately cast the lightning dash, sensing another arrow soaring towards them. Arg. Human. Michael growled as Gaia saw an arrowhead striking out from Michael's chest. The arrow would have pierced her if he didn't shield her with his body. Pulch. Grr. Before the APD could completely heal the wound, another arrow pierced him from behind. Go put all our crew in the container and tell Gibson to submerge. Ignoring the pain, Michael quickly ordered Gaia. He could sense some powerful figures approaching them. Boom. 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 The sound of cannon fires appeared again. The ship was getting destroyed in all directions. He could see the smoke and flames coming through the hole behind him. His focus was not on saving the ship but saving Gaia and the crew. You're coming with us. Lightning dash as Gaia shook her head. Michael dashed away, yet he was too late as another arrow pierced his shoulder. His blood splattered on Gaia's face. She began to shiver. We have no time to argue, go. Activating the death range, Michael stomped the floor as they dropped from their cabin to the below deck. They were knee-high in water. The huge holes in the hull let the seawater rush inside the ship. He could see the ship would sink in a few hours if this attack continued. Go! Pushing away Gaia. He raised his arms at her. A strong gust of wind immediately sent her flying away from him. Since Maxine left with Sadie to meet with Tiberius, the task of saving the crew fell on Gaia's shoulder. Michael leaped back to the cabin through the hole again. Instead of using lightning dash, which might reveal his identity as Ghost, he flew out of the room. The moment he stepped out of the cabin, he was welcomed by numerous airships hovering above them. Each of them resembled a man of war with a huge air balloon attached on top to make them fly. Michael pulled out the 3 arrows sticking out of his chest one by one. He stored them in his space ring before moving towards the door to the below deck. He tried to remain calm despite being surrounded by several warships in all directions. He ripped off a wooden piece from the wall. Then, he shoved it across the door to prevent anyone from the other side from opening. The ship then began to vibrate as the captain's cabin slowly moved downwards. Michael relaxed a bit, realizing the submerging still works. He calmly walked towards the captain's cabin, looking at people wearing silver armor dropping from the warships above him using ropes. Guardians. Everything around him moved in slow motion. The sight of his ship getting bombarded to death gave him a mixed emotion of sadness and anger. He couldn't help wondering how the Guardians managed to locate him. It seemed like someone outsmarted him or left a piece of evidence behind somewhere that led them to him. As he was walking to his room, he noticed golden arrows soaring through the cloud. They didn't hit him but landed on the deck in a formation. The formation soon created a translucent blue dome around the ship. Whoosh! In a couple of moments, the entire Silent Reaper submerged into the water. Human! Human, are you there? Gaia's voice sounded in his head. Her voice was filled with dread and panic. Take all of them to the crypt. Don't come back under any circumstance. No! You can't leave me, her voice stuttered. I'm not. Just do what I said. I'll put airbags in your space ring. Use them to breathe underwater. Unless you want me dead, do not come looking for me. Michael cut the connection between them immediately. He didn't have time to argue with Gaia. Entering the system store, he quickly bought airbags for the crew to breathe inside the container. The host cannot use runic teleportation while in a battle. The system reminded him. Although he did not forget about this, he just tried his luck. His room immediately flooded with seawater. He sat on his throne waiting for the ship to emerge so he could welcome the Guardians personally. As he was sitting on his throne, the cloud of darkness slowly faded away. He felt something blocking him from using arch energy. The sensation was similar to what he felt during the fight with the young master. The young master used a rune formation to prevent Ghost from using the lightning dash. This felt similar but stronger. After the ship emerged from the water, in addition to hearing several footsteps, he also sensed the warship circling the Silent Reaper in a diamond formation. His X-ray vision enabled him to see through the wall. He could see at least 50 core strengthening stage cultivators with crossbows, spears, and swords surrounding the cabin. Among those, there were a few weak ones. Instead of the core strengthening warriors, it was these weak ones that kept walking towards his cabin. He just placed an orb on the table, waiting for them to come in. Boom! The front door exploded into bits as 4 figures walked into the room through the cloud of dust. Michael recognized 4 figures immediately. They were Peyton, Zanali, Alicia, and finally Noah Winston. Lucifer, Peyton said as the core strengthening warriors in silver armor flooded the room, surrounding Michael. Your game ends here. Chapter 317. Took you long enough, Michael said, lazily sitting on the throne. System, can you disable the formation around me? He asked the system in his mind. He sensed a dome of pressure around him that prevented him from using arch energy. Although it would be hard to kill all of them, if the system could disable the formation, he could use the runic teleportation to leave the ship. Did you really think if you're inside the void line, we, the Guardians, cannot catch you? Peyton snickered. You have no idea how we caught you, do you? Michael wanted to ask them about it somehow, yet Peyton's ego was so big that she herself started to explain without even Michael asking. There's a saying in Elon, you know. Peyton started to walk around Michael with her hands behind. Her ample chest was puffed up as she felt so proud of herself. Guardians can go to places that even the air couldn't. Disabling the formation would cost the host 14,000 badass points. Currently, the host lacks the required points. Do you want to take a loan from the system for a measly 30% interest? Despite the pickle of a situation he was in, the system had the galls to joke around. Yes, do it. Oh? All right then. The system sounded surprised. The system thought Michael would activate the banker function to convert the gold coins into badass points instead of taking a loan. As far as Michael was concerned, earning the required 1.4 million gold coins was harder than earning 18,000 badass points to settle the debt. Disabling formation has begun. 600 seconds remaining. 599 seconds remaining. A grin appeared on his face behind the mask. You were too busy playing the good guy to notice a guardian hiding in the container with the Silver Moon girls. Gina, Peyton clapped as a girl in ravaged clothes entered the room. She had an oval face smeared with mud, blood, and oil. It was hard to differentiate mud from her brown hair. Michael looked directly into her hazel eyes before taking his eyes away from her. Michael saw this girl among the Silver Moon girls. Unlike Peyton was thinking, he did anticipate a spy. That was why he kept the girls alone in a separate room, not letting any of his crew except a few. He realized that Gibson failed to count the girls before sending them to Tiberius. Good thing that he always kept his crew away from the girls, as Gina probably had not seen their faces. Without seeing their faces, the chances of capturing them in the southern continent were 0 to none. It seemed that Gina used the darkness of the room to escape Gibson's eyes. She was probably hiding in the room, communicating with the Guardians until now. So you know what happened to those girls and who was responsible? Michael asked Peyton but directed his gaze at Noah. He will be punished for his crimes, just like you, Peyton calmly said. Will? Let me guess, you're still investigating, Michael snickered. He couldn't believe the incompetence of the Guardians. You don't have to worry about that, Lucifer, or should I call you the Dark Lord? Peyton stopped walking to stare him in the eyes. We will catch him, just like we caught you. Justice will prevail. Zanali coldly spoke instead of Peyton. Ha ha ha. They were slightly stunned by the sudden laughter escaping Michael's mouth. Cut your bullshit. Naga. Zanali clenched her fist as her mouth kept opening and closing in shock. She was quite speechless. Among the people in the room, only Peyton knew about her race. She kept her Naga origin as a well-hidden secret. She couldn't figure out how he saw through her transformation. You never caught me. You're here because of him. Michael looked at Noah. If anyone could find him in this room, he knew it would be Noah. Noah's calmness spoke louder than Peyton's ego-filled words. I can tell that you were planning this for months. You might feel proud deep down, huh, Noah? Michael completely ignored Peyton and Zanali as he looked at Noah. I am feeling proud. Catching an evil bastard like you always makes me proud and happy. Noah walked towards Michael from the corner of the room. He flicked his wrist as a throne made of pure gold appeared before the table, directly opposite to Michael. Everything around them slowed down, including the time itself. For a moment, Zanali saw a bright light radiating from Noah while pitch-black darkness radiating from Lucifer. You just used the girls who were raped, tortured, and killed to catch me. If I'm evil, what do you think makes you? Have you ever tried to catch Minister Magnus? Or you want more dead bodies as evidence before catching him? Don't worry, after dealing with you, I'm going straight to Minister Magnus. He will pay for what he did, just like you. What about his partners? Do you know the containers they were using to smuggle girls had the symbol of Guardians, not just the one Gina was in? Michael's question stunned Noah. Unlike Michael, who lived 2 lives, Noah was still naive compared to him. The Guardian Guild is not how it used to be. Andreas, the moment Michael uttered the name, Noah's eyes went wide. Subconsciously he touched his ring. The very next moment, a faint whistling sound reverberated the room. A sudden pressure enveloped the room. Thap, thap, thap. One by one, the core-strengthening warriors around Michael started to fall down. In a few moments, only Michael remained conscious as even Noah's eyes were shut closed. Soon, an ethereal figure appeared beside Noah. The figure was a man in his early 40s. He had shoulder-length white hair, stubble beard, broad shoulders, as well as a mark of the rising sun right between his eyes. We finally meet Dark Lord, Supreme Guardian Andreas MacLeod, Michael said. When he was on the treacherous island, the sliver of soul left behind Andreas talked about his successor. It was just a guess that Noah would be the successor. He always doubted that something weird going on with Noah, yet Michael never expected he had a ring with an OP grandpa in it. Moreover, the Supreme Guardian actually revealed himself to Michael instead of doing the opposite. It was a stupid move to reveal his successor to Michael, at least Michael thought that way. Warning! Warning! The host cannot kill Noah. The target has a powerful mark on him. At the current system level, the system cannot protect the host from dying if you killed Noah. The moment Michael thought about ending Noah's life here and now, the system began to scream in his mind. His eyesight was filled with red flashes of warnings. I was searching for you for more than 3,000 years, Dark Lord. You shouldn't go searching for death, Andreas. Humph. With a snicker, the ethereal form of Andreas faded into Noah's body. The very next moment, the ethereal form disappeared. Noah opened his eyes. However, his pupils were not black but shone in bright white. His white robes glimmered like they were made of white gold. Even Noah's black hair slowly changed white. It wouldn't take a genius to see that Andreas just took over Noah's body. I'm not the one who searched for death, Dark Lord. The moment you chose to go against the Guardian Guild, you signed your death warrant. I'm glad we stopped you before you could start a war. Michael slightly leaned forward, but the Supreme Guardian flicked his wrist as numerous spikes made of celestial energy materialized around Michael, ready to skew his body. Don't even think about it. This ends now. Michael could feel any one of these spikes could end his life if Andreas wished. You were right about one thing though. The Guardians are indeed becoming idiots. They still haven't unmasked you yet. I want to see if you're really the devil or a traitor of the human race. An ethereal hand moved towards Michael's mask. I wouldn't do that if I were you. The hand stopped for a second. System, connect the video feed of Noah's home to the orb before me. Teleporting away from the room was one of his plans. It was plan A. However, at this moment, he chose to go with plan B. The moment he saw Noah, he plotted this plan in his mind. With pleasure. Andreas noticed the orb on the table between them suddenly glowed. Soon, the glass orb started to show him a familiar place, Noah's home. The bright glow in Noah's eyes flickered. I made your entire guild piss their pants before even I came to this world. In the Dark Lord, the moment the words Dark Lord escaped his mouth, he willed the system to activate the Cloud of Darkness and the Eyes of Darkness, showing his complete Lucifer form to the Supreme Guardian. You have no idea what I'm capable of. His crimson-red eyes moved away from Noah to Gina, who was lying on the ground unconsciously. The Supreme Guardian turned his neck to see Gina. Michael controlled the spiders in the room to move to Gina. He controlled the spiders telepathically to inject her with their poison. A few seconds after, at first, her body twitched. Then the Supreme Guardian saw a white form coming out of her mouth as her body started to twitch violently. The form quickly turned white to red while her eyes rolled back. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 5,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 4,000 badass points. Chapter 318. Look at that, they are having a family dinner. Michael evilly chuckled looking at the orb before him. Noah's eyes flickered, indicating Noah trying to take back his body. By destroying the ship, you Guardians made it personal. So what if I take something you love, Noah? For example, your little sister. Michael slowly, just very slowly moved his finger to snap. Stop, Andreas said as his shout shook the entire room. Get this through your thick skull, Andreas. You cannot stop me. I will warn you only once. Back off or everyone you care about will die. You Guardians say I'm bad. Trust me, I'm the worst, as he said. Michael snapped, willing the system to teleport him back to Abyssal. Michael wanted to confront him more, but he could feel the dizziness overcoming his senses due to the blood loss. Considering Andreas was a 6-star alchemist, Michael didn't dare to use APD. The Supreme Guardian would have recognized the healing potion, connecting the dots between Ghost and Lucifer. The tight armor kept the blood loss minimal, yet after a time, he had to leave the ship. It was also one of the reasons Michael left the ship without beating the crap out of the Guardians when they were unconscious. After Noah's body was overtaken by Andreas, his power skyrocketed from core formation stage 2 to fusion stage level 10. He knew he would not stand a chance fighting the Supreme Guardian with his current status. Fortunately, he had spiders in Noah's home to blackmail the Supreme Guardian. Else, Andreas wouldn't have let him leave without a fight. With a last glance at his silent reaper sinking into the sea, Michael teleported to the Abyssal. His heart felt heavy seeing his ship sink. Human! The moment Michael appeared in the darkroom, he heard the panic-stricken voice of Gaia. Azazel quickly waved his hand as the room immediately lightened up to reveal blood-soaked armor. Gaia's eyes watered up as she pulled off Michael's skull mask. His face was pale. Blood trickled down from his nostrils. Everything hurt. Their head hurt, their chest hurt, their feet hurt. A sharp pain struck their chest from deep within him. He paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. Perhaps if he could shift his focus away from the pain to Gaia's face, it'd be easier to manage. He took a deep breath and shifted their focus, determined to swallow the pain and keep going. Activating the APD, he struggled onwards, only to stumble on Gaia. Ghost! She caught him as Nightmare wrapped his wings around him to steady Michael. Tears were rolling out of the dragon's eyes. Vidora walked away from Michael's bed to give him space to lie down. A sharp pain struck his chest from deep within. One hand wrapped around Gaia's shoulder while the other clasped his chest in agony. The pain subsided at times, only to flare up again and with seemingly increased intensity. It'd probably take a simple and obvious decision to either give up or keep going at this point, but that decision just didn't seem to come. It became harder and harder to swallow the pain, to ignore the sensations and the voices telling him to stop. On any other day, he would have used a healing potion to heal himself, but not today. The arrow pieces inside his body stopped the healing potion from healing him. "My lady, quickly remove his armor," Azazel instructed Gaia. Nightmare helped Michael lie down on the bed. Soon, the white mattress turned red in his blood. "Why aren't you using the healing potion?" She ripped off Michael's armor to see 2 wounds on his chest and 1 in his shoulder. She poured the healing potion into the wounds after taking a potion from her space ring. "You need to cough." Michael tried to inform her about the arrow pieces inside his body, yet when he tried to talk, he started to cough up blood. If it wasn't for the APD injecting him with a healing potion, he would have lost consciousness completely. Seeing the blood coming out of his mouth, her mind went blank. There's something preventing the healing potion from healing him. Since Nightmare could see the energy flow with his eyes, he noticed the energy coming from the healing potion getting sucked by something inside Michael. "Then you need to cut him open and get it out," Saga said as the other 2 heads nodded. "Yes, cough." Michael coughed before clenching her hand tightly. "What? No, I can't. You have to, my lady. The rest of us don't have hands like you. He's a dying bitch. Do as we say." Iag jumped between Michael and Gaia to shout at Gaia. Nightmare saw a dagger materialize in Michael's hand. He picked up the dagger before handing it over to Gaia. What if he died?" Gaia sobbed. She never felt her body shiver like this before. Her brain completely stopped working as the fear of losing Michael hit her to the core. "He will if you do nothing, Kane," the blackhead said, breaking his silence. Michael quickly paid the system to light up the places in his body where the arrow pieces were stuck. Gaia was not a doctor to operate the arrow pieces out. Therefore, he helped her by lighting up the arrow pieces' locations in his body. "What's happening?" She was stunned to see the skin near the wounds radiating a golden light from within. The arrow pieces, with the help of the golden light, she saw the pieces stuck inside him. As she was moving her shaking hands towards the wounds, Michael's eyes started to close. "Lord Nightmare, keep pouring the healing potion into his mouth." Azazel flicked his wrist as the healing potions Michael kept on his workbench flew directly into Nightmare's hands. Quickly the 3 heads of Vidora pulled out the corks of the healing potions. Please don't leave me," Gaia cried. The lump in her throat prevented her from speaking loudly. Gently she placed the dagger on the wound to cut. She could feel the energy pulses coming from the broken arrow pieces. In a blink of an eye, she felt all kinds of emotions like sadness, grief, anger, and resentment. "Please hurry, my lady." Azazel rushed her. She wiped off the tears from her face. Finally, she overcame her emotions, realizing the dire situation. Her hands stopped shaking as she made the first cut. Immediately blood splashed out from the wound. The piece of the rune on the arrow pulsated energy that kept gushing out Michael's blood. "There it is." Nightmare noticed a broken 3-inch arrow piece in the wound. It was glowing dimly. "Arg. What is that?" Iag noticed a silver tool appear in Michael's hand again. It looked like scissors in Gaia's eyes. The cut was only an inch wide. Therefore, if she tried to pull out the arrow piece by hand, it would do more damage. When she saw the tool, she knew how to use it. "Don't cry, cough." Michael opened his eyes with great difficulty. He couldn't even move a muscle in his body. "It'll be fine." Finally Michael let out these words with a gentle smile before closing his eyes. "I won't let you die." Gaia pulled out the broken arrow piece straight away without wasting any time. The moment the broken arrow piece exited Michael's body, the healing potion took effect. They saw the wound rapidly closing. It did not even leave a scar. Seeing the wound close up gave her the strength to move to the next wound. Almost half an hour later, Nightmare sighed a sigh of relief. All the wounds in Michael's body completely healed up. He was peacefully sleeping on the bed. With the help of Azazel, they changed the bloodied sheets and Michael's clothes. Everything in the room had been changed except for Gaia. She was staring at Michael with a bloodied face and hands. No one could tell what she was thinking. She just stared at Michael in silence. "I'll go something for you to eat," Nightmare said, hovering in front of her. "Yes," she nodded as Nightmare left the room to go collect some fruits in the dark forest. "Go make sure this place is secure," Gaia ordered Azazel, who was standing behind her. Her eyes were fixed on Michael. "As you wish, my lady." After Azazel disappeared, She looked around the room. After seeing no one in the room, she made her way towards Michael's workbench. There was a hint of resolution could be seen in her eyes like never before. She sat on the chair, taking out a parchment and a quill. Tears flowed onto the parchment while she was writing. Almost after 10 minutes, she closed the parchment. Michael was oblivious to what's happening around him as he was peacefully sleeping. He did not even notice Gaia placing a parchment beside him with the earpiece he gave her. "Goodbye, human," she gently kissed him on the forehead. Everything they went through flashed across Gaia's eyes. What she decided to do wasn't easy. Her heart bled just to think about her decision. For almost a year, she had never left his side. Even when he was in the nether realm or treacherous ocean, they kept in touch through the earpiece. It never felt like they were apart. Her smile on the face contained an immense amount of sadness. After kissing him again on the forehead, she left the room. Chapter 319, Arg fuck, Michael growled, slowly opening his eyes. He had completely lost of time. Everything around him was dark. He instinctively turned his head to see if Gaia was lying beside him as usual. Except when he turned aside, a parchment rolled out from his chest. "Gaia!" He called out for her, looking around the room. He received no response. At first, he thought she went outside. However, he felt a strange void in his heart. He picked up the parchment, Azazel. Before opening the parchment, he called out for his butler. In a few mere moments, the demon butler appeared before Michael. "Turn the lights on." With a wave of his hand, the demon butler lit the room. Michael opened the parchment to read. Azazel noticed Michael creasing his brows. A hint of shock and sadness emerged in his eyes. "Dear human, it's funny that after everything we went through, I never knew your real name. I think even if I know your name, I might continue to call you human because you were the first person who actually helped when I needed help the most. I can still remember the day I met you vividly. This past year is the happiest time of my life. If I were to die today, I'd happily greet death as the happiest girl in this world. You are the best thing that happened to me. When you were bleeding on the bed, I couldn't do anything. That feeling was worse than death. If I was only faster, stronger, I could have helped you." These words kept repeating in my mind. I don't think I can ever go through something like that again. I'd rather die than hurt you, but I must do this for both our sakes. I hope you understand how difficult it is for me to make this decision to leave your side. I'm going somewhere that I should have gone a long time ago, human. I will come back to you stronger or dead. Either way, I will come back to you. Please don't come searching for me unless you want me dead. I didn't have the courage to say this to your eyes. That's why I'm leaving you with this letter. I hope you find it in your heart to forgive me. Look after Nightmare and Vidora for me. I love you and I will love you till the end of time. Gaia Ashton. I hope the gods bless me to change Ashton to your name, human. Michael felt a lump in his throat after reading the letter. When he finished reading the last word, a drop of tears rolled out of his eyes without his control. "My lord," Azazel called out as he had no idea what's on the letter or what made Michael act this way. Her words hurt him more than the arrows did. "System. The system's level is too low to track her location without the earpiece host. Besides, there are some places in this world that trying to track her down would backfire and kill her." His heartbeat slowly raised to the point the veins in his eyes popped, making his eyes redder and redder. It became extremely hard to control his anger towards the Guardians. If it wasn't for them, she wouldn't have left him. At this moment, he felt weak and helpless. He couldn't even imagine losing her, especially when he was planning to propose to her. He slowly walked towards the monitoring mirrors on the wall. One of the mirrors had no footage as it reflected Michael's body. Boom! Michael punched the mirror as it exploded into thousands of tiny pieces. His punch formed a fist-shaped hole in the wall. He did not use any spell or skill, just punched the wall with pure anger. Blood trickled out of the cuts and scratches on his fist. "My lord," Azazel immediately waved his hand as a healing potion flew from the work table to heal his wound. "What's that sound?" Nightmare flew into the room to see Michael standing in front of a broken mirror. He noticed the bloodied parchment in Ghost's hand. "Ghosty, you're awake. What happened?" Michael threw the parchment to Nightmare as he caught it with his hands in the mid-air. Nightmare opened the parchment that had dots of Michael's blood soaked in to read while hovering in the air. "What the hell?" Nightmare sighed. He noticed something was wrong after Gaia finished taking out the broken arrow pieces. She was awfully silent after Michael had been healed. Nightmare never thought she would actually decide to leave them. Ghosty Nightmare threw the parchment on the bed before flying to Michael's side. He put his hand on Michael's shoulder to console him. Why did she leave? Michael turned his gaze to look at Nightmare. She had to. Ghosty Nightmare's answer surprised Michael. She was powerless to do anything when you were in trouble. She was powerless to save you when you were bleeding on the bed, moments away from dying. Just imagine yourself in her shoes. Imagine what she went through. Wouldn't you go searching for something that will make you stronger so you won't feel powerless? I'm not saying leaving us was the right choice. I'm saying I don't blame her. And you shouldn't do. Michael clenched his fist again. I don't blame anyone but the Guardians. As he said, he walked towards the workbench. He clenched the table tightly. Until now, I just wanted the Guardians out of my way. Moving forward, I'll destroy everything Andreas built, piece by piece. When I'm done with the Guardians, there won't be anything left. New goal added. The moment he took a resolution to destroy the guild once and for all, he heard a system notification in his mind. Where has she gone? His anger towards Guardians quickly faded away when his eyes landed on the room's corner where his robes were hanging on the wall. His black robes brought back a sweet memory from a few days ago in front of his eyes. Few days ago. Morning. Michael slowly opened his eyes. He held the bed sheets tightly as he curled under the thick quilt. When his sleepy vision cleared, he saw Gaia sitting beside him. Instead of greeting him with some snarky comments, she was fully focused on the task at hand. She wasn't even blinking as her tongue stuck out above her cherry upper lip, almost brushing the tip of her nose. The moment he saw what's in her hand, his sleepiness instantly disappeared. Hey, what the hell are you doing to my clothes? He threw the quilt aside to stand up. What does it look like? She said without taking her eyes from Michael's long black trench coat. I'm putting on embroidery. It's gonna look so cool when I'm done. Michael craned his neck to see his trench coat. There was an unknown shape that looked like a baby of a circle and a square. What is that? A kidney or something? Wait, that looks like a circle with a stick in it. Only then she took her gaze away from his trench coat. She turned her murderous gaze at him. It's a G, you blind asshole. Ha ha G? Who taught you embodiment? Michael burst into laughter, making her madder and madder. She would look extremely cute when she's mad. He couldn't help pinching her soft cheeks while wrapping her with his arms. There was the hug of gentle arms that still gives the space to breathe. Then there was the hug of strong arms that tells everything, your body, brain, and soul, that they are with you. She loved both, the duvets and the human shields, each had their time. The way he hugged her at the moment was a hybrid of both hugs. His embrace was strong yet gentle, filled with love and care. She was unable to stay mad at him under his passionate hug. G for ghost or Gaia. Just like in our cards, G for ghost for others, but it really stands for Gaia. This way she lifted his trench coat to show him her rather unique-looking G. I'll always be closer to your heart. I prefer the real thing. His hug tightened as he smooched her cheek before landing a soft kiss on her soft rosy cheek. Did you put this embroidery on your clothes? She bit her tongue, slowly wiggling herself out of his embrace. She went to the edge of the bed. He saw a foxy smile emerge on her face. I didn't want to spoil my clothes. She quickly started to run after saying these words. I knew it. Stop. Their laughter reverberated the walls of the abyssal. Their happiness lit up this dark place. Michael put on his clothes to leave abyssal. This place never felt like home without Gaia around. He gently tapped the embodiment on his chest, reminiscing the moments with her in his mind. In the letter, she said take care of me and Vedroa, but I saw Vedora with her when she was flying away, Nightmare said. You saw her leave? Michael frowned. Yeah, I thought she's going to the sect. At least someone's with her. Michael sighed and relaxed. I trust her, she will come back to me. Finally Nightmare saw his usual smile appear on his face. Nightmare was really afraid of Michael going on a rampage or going into a self-destruct mood. But after seeing his smile, he felt like an immense amount of pressure was being lifted off of his shoulder. Come on, we have a tournament to win. Chapter 320. Keep monitoring Azazel, especially that house. I will contact you the moment if I find something amiss, Lord Lucifer. Azazel bowed his head. Where are Arya and Delar? They are both cultivating in their rooms, Lord Lucifer. Do you wish to see them? Michael shook his head. No need. Nightmare, let's go. He willed the system to activate the runic teleportation. In a few seconds, the space before them twisted as they felt the familiar sensation of being teleported. I never get used to this feeling. Nightmare shook his head to calm down his nerves. After being teleported, he felt like he was about to throw up. Fortunately, he learned to control this nasty sensation. Since Gaia destroyed their home, Michael had to leave a rune on a large oak tree near the construction site where his home used to be. There was no one working at the construction site as it seemed like early morning. The usual golden rays of sun on the horizon were nowhere to be seen. It was a chilly, cloudy morning. On this cloudy morning, there were growing patches of blue, the sort of hue that was soft and bright at the same time. Though beneath the sheet of cloud was a gray that deepens to steel, the leading edge is a brilliant white, as if it were the pages of a new book ready for any curious eye. So on this day that could bring rain or sunshine, he hoped for heavy rain because rain plus hot coffee always calmed his soul. In the sky, the clouds were arranged as neatly as child's toys, scattered over blue, content to drift where they fell. The morning sun had the potential to bring a day as hot as yesterday, but those wonderful puffs of white radiated it back out into space. The air was cooler, the colors less vivid and all without a drop of rain. Nightmare shrunk his size just enough to comfortably sit on Michael's shoulder like a bird. He wrapped his tail around Michael's neck for extra hold as well as comfort. Walking out of the forest, he made his way to Claire's home. Good morning, Brother Ghost. Good morning, Nightmare. Michael's home was located near a green lush forest at the far end of the sect. It was rather a solitary place just like Michael's preference. Plus, it was built on a small hill so he had to walk the stairs to reach Claire's mansion. While climbing down the hill, he met several disciples in black uniform who greeted them with the utmost respect in their eyes. Besides the disciples, the hill, the surrounding areas, and the staircase were filled with flagpoles. They hadn't hoisted the flags yet, but it seemed like the disciples were planning a huge celebration before the tournament. Good morning, Michael greeted them back with a small smile. He could see they were looking around him for Gaia as she was always used to being near him. Brother Ghost, we are betting on you to win. The whole sect will be there. Make us proud, Brother Ghost. The disciples were extremely excited. They were brimming with smiles. Michael just nodded to their requests along the way to Claire's mansion. After reaching the most populated area of their sect where the most buildings were, in addition to a long line of carriages hooked to 2 to 4 horses, he saw several fancy carriages with pagasi in front. 1, 2, 3 he saw Ricky in the distance counting the carriages one by one. He had parchment and a quill in his hand as he marked something on the parchment every time he counted a carriage. Young Master Ghost, look, it's a dragon, such a majestic creature. Greetings, young Master Ghost. Along the way to Ricky, Michael was greeted by several men of various ages. They were the owners or the drivers of the carriages. They all bowed their heads slightly to show their respect to the youngest 5-star alchemist of Elon. Oh, Master Ghost, welcome back. Ricky stopped counting the carriages to greet Michael. What's going on here? Michael asked. Sect leader Claire hired these carriages for the disciples and the elders, Master Ghost. We are all coming to witness you and Sister Elia kick ass and take the championships, as Ricky speaks with excitement. His eyes searched behind Michael to locate Gaia. Is everyone coming to Royal Land? You betcha, Master Ghost. Oh, Ricky seemed like he had a sudden realization. Lord Christopher is staying behind, I think. Where is Daniel? With Lady Raylene. Today they are starting to cultivate the lands near River Town. Ricky's eyes sparkled in delight as he was born in River Town. If the River Town was getting developed into a bustling city, his family would have an even better life. With the salary he was getting from Ghost, Ricky's family had already become one of the wealthiest families in the River Town. Ricky was not a selfish person. Hence, he wanted the entire River Town to become a rich city. Carry on. Michael gave a pat on his back before resuming his journey to Claire's manor. See you later, Nightmare. You too, Ricky. Nightmare waved his hand while lying on Michael's shoulder. The duo continued to get greetings from the carriage's drivers and owners. When Michael came to Claire's manor, he saw several youngsters in rather raggedy clothes waiting in line before Claire's manor. Hey look, it's Ghost. Shoo, don't let him hear you. Yeah, call him Brother Ghost like the others. It didn't take a genius to see they were waiting to join the sect. They were pretty nervous. Welcome to the Sunrise sect, my fellow brothers and sisters. A few words from Michael made them shudder in shock. Soon, their nervousness transformed into unending delight. Their eyes sparkled. Although he knew Claire was interviewing them, he wanted these poor kids to relax as Claire never rejected anyone. If Michael was not a genius in alchemy, He would have urged them to come up with a screening process to filter the youngsters according to their talent. Since was a genius, he could provide them with potions and pills to make any mediocre youngster a genius. At the moment, the sect needed numbers the most if they were to become the best and the biggest in Elon. Moreover, they never expected a famous legend like him to actually talk to them instead of ignoring them. Most of their families spent fearing the nobles while developing an inferiority complex. Therefore, when he talked to them, many couldn't believe what was happening as their minds went blank. Well, talk later. Again, welcome to the Sunrise sect. Michael patted a few youngsters who were standing in front of their shoulders. He then walked into Claire's manor, leaving the youngsters flabbergasted with his presence. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Just interacting with the newbies provided him with almost 3,000 badass points. He didn't talk to them for badass points. He did because that felt right at the moment. Entering Claire's manor, he made his way to the hall where he saw Elder Sandra and Elder Reiner conducting the interview. Elder Sandra nodded when she saw him while Elder Reiner waved at him with a wide grin on his face. The young girl who was being interviewed kept staring at him with her mouth wide open. In her eyes, he was the most handsome guy she had ever seen. Sect leader Claire is in the West study room. Thank you. Elder Michael didn't linger around to raise the young girl's heartbeat. Go straight and take the next right. Nightmare guided Michael to the study room. This mansion of Claire had a total of 8 rooms, not including the 2 rooms for the indoor garden. Nightmare spent most of his time with Claire when he was not with Michael. Therefore, he knew the house like the back of his hand. Through the brightly lit corridor, he reached the study room to be welcomed by a rather odd-looking room. In his mind, after hearing the word study room, he imagined the room to have dull-looking paint, several book racks filled with books, scrolls as well as large tables. At that moment, he felt like he entered the Barbie world. The walls were painted with a subtle pink paint that was neither too bright nor too dull. There was a single bed on the corner with 2 4-feet flower vases on each side. In the center of the room, he saw a round table. Even the book racks were painted in pinkish color. Several books were neatly stacked on top of each other on the table. Claire was reading a book while Olivia was writing something on a parchment. Teacher Olivia was the first to notice Michael standing in the doorway. Is this a study room or a girl's room? Michael dragged a chair before sitting backward on the chair. Seeing Claire, Nightmare bounced off from his shoulder to Claire's shoulder. He nudged his head against Claire's cheek, giving her wet kisses. Hiya, little guy. Claire stopped reading the book to play with Nightmare. Asked Claire. She was the one sleeping here instead of her room, Olivia giggled. Where is your other half, teacher? In her jolly mood, Olivia asked. She pretended like she's searching around Michael. She's gone. The joyful smile on Olivia's face instantly disappeared after hearing him. Not gone. She went to take care of something important to her. Without you? Claire frowned. Claire knew the bond between the two of them. They were like joined in the hips, inseparable. Even when Elia was not with him, she would always talk about him and the fun they had together. Claire couldn't even remember the last time Elia talked about something that didn't involve Ghost. Just a few days ago, Elia even asked questions related to engagement to her and Raylene. Suddenly hearing her leaving Michael stunned Claire. Claire couldn't care less if Elia was unable to compete in the tournament. She just didn't want the two of them to break their wonderful relationship. Chapter 321. Is everything all right between you two? Claire asked. He could see the worry in her eyes. A year ago, he was the #1 assassin in the world. He had no one to worry about him. Although this world put him through various life-threatening rides on a daily basis, it also gave him people like Claire who genuinely cared about him. Yeah. Claire knew Michael enough to see the sorrow behind his calm eyes. If you want to talk about anything, we are here for you, Ghost. What are you talking about? Teacher looks fine to me. Seeing the worried look on Claire's face, Olivia questioned her. In her eyes, there was nothing amiss with Ghost. Have you ever been in love, Olivia? Claire's question caught Olivia off guard. She folded her arms, creasing her brows. No. Why do you ask? When you're in love, your eyes speak just as loud as your mouth. It's a language you might not learn in your life, he, Claire giggled. Hey! Olivia pouted. She threw a quill at Claire, but Nightmare caught the quill with his mouth before it could hit Claire. The two girls almost forgot their status and started to play like little girls. "See, I have a little guardian angel here." Claire kissed Nightmare on his forehead. "Secretary Leader Claire, when are you guys leaving the sect?" Michael's question put a stop to their childish play. Claire quickly regained her sect leader composure. "In the evening. We'll travel to Sarton by carriages, and from there, we'll take the ships to Royal Land. It's an easier, safer and far shorter journey than traveling by road." "Cool. So Olivia, how are your studies going on?" He dragged the chair towards their study table. "I finished the work you gave me, teacher." With a flick of her wrist, she filled the large table with parchments. Since Michael needed to take his mind off Guardians and Gaia, he decided to spend the time until they leave for Royal with Olivia. "Let's stop theory stuff and move on to the practicals. Take out your cauldron out." Her face immediately lit up like someone lit a candle in her head. In a blink of an eye, a dark violet cauldron appeared on the table. On its surface, several silver runes could be seen. In addition to the runes, there were etchings of various shapes such as flowers, plants, Olivia's name, as well as a lion's head. "Teacher, would I be able to make pills and potions like you?" "I mean without the cauldron." If Olivia asked the same question a few months ago when she started to learn from him, he would have really laughed it off. However, after all this time studying under him, he noticed the jump in her talent. At first, she was only able to make pills and potions with 50% purity. Now she could touch the 57% purity mark. Although he became a 5-star alchemist in a few moments, after making almost thousands of pills and potions, he knew how hard it is to get the 7% leap in a short amount of time. However, this was not the time for her to learn his technique. First, she needed to become his subordinate who has more than 95% loyalty. Only then, Michael would think about teaching her how to control the alchemy flames like him. "That's too dangerous. A simple mistake and you'll be served rare." "Ha ha ha," Claire couldn't help chuckling. Olivia stuck her tongue out at Claire, but she didn't argue with Michael. She understood him completely. "Whoa, before you guys play with fire, I'll take my books and leave this place." Claire quickly collected her books. "I don't want to be well done." Claire winked at Olivia as she rolled her eyes. "That's terrible." After Claire left the study room with Nightmare, Michael began to teach Olivia how to use the cauldron to its maximum potential. As the oat field encountered a peach sky, the evening had come in stately fashion, with all the grace of a breeze in repose. In that welcome amber glow, the time of slower thoughts had arrived. Those moments when with open eyes, Michael's mind became as a perfect empty horizon, seeing, yet content to sit. He felt the soothing breeze birthed by the surrounding foliage, became absorbed in the music of crickets, letting the gentle energy of nature wash in. He watched the disciples getting in the carriages from the mountain peak, his usual place to meditate. His black trench coat fluttered in the wind while his turtleneck gave him a unique charm. Unlike before, he wore the dual sword sheath on his back. At the moment, it was empty. He willed the system to retrieve the space ring given to him at the House Kane. "It's time for you two to come out." The space ring let out a faint whistling sound before two beautifully forged swords appeared in Michael's hand. The two swords had a blade of a gray color, with a pattern made of swirls and triangles engraved on it. The blade itself was engraved. A line of text "Ghost" was engraved on the blades, which only added to the elegance of this weapon, as well as its cost. Each blade had a small, straight crossguard, just large enough to make sure his fingers were safe and the blade would remain firmly in your hands. The crossguard had an intricate skull on each side. He knew the cost of this weapon must have been high. In addition to the crossguard, a fairly small pommel was engraved with the symbol of its owner, again, a skull. The two swords belonged to the rare weapon class, which meant they could have 3 runes. At the moment, there were no runes on the sword, but if Michael wanted, he could find a rune master to place runes on the swords. The system level was too low to place runes on the swords via the system. Swing. Swing. Michael tossed the sword in the air as they both dramatically flew down straight into his sheaths. That was cool. Even the system was impressive. He reached sword mastery to the point the swords felt like they were part of him. "I know." With a swift leap, he jumped off from the cliff. In the mid-air, he activated the lightning dash to fly towards the sect. Within a few blinks of an eye, he came to the pathway where the carriages were waiting to depart. The disciples were entering the carriages one by one without causing a ruckus. Many among the disciples painted their faces to resemble a skull, while many female disciples had the letter G written on their faces using a black dye. The moment they saw Michael land at the pathway's start, they started to cheer, screaming his name out loud. Ghost! 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 Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. Michael was overwhelmed by their support. It was as he was a famous sportsman who entered the arena filled with his die-hard fans. Cast a spell. Someone among the disciples had the courage to shout out for a spell. Cast a spell. Cast a spell. Soon they all started to demand in unison. What the heck, Xianxia? Michael raised his two hands clasping towards the sky. With an electric noise, the golden cracks of lightning danced around his entire arm before shooting to the sky as a thick bolt of lightning. The light produced by the lightning bolt brightened up the pathway. It was like a beacon, screaming Michael's location. The badass points rained as he almost earned yet another 6,000 points by just casting a spell. It was cool to show off, but he didn't want to waste his energy before the tournament. Therefore, with a swift jump he leaped into the air. Ricky was waiting for Michael near the last carriage in the line. His carriage was hooked to 4 horses. As Michael preferred, Ricky chose the fanciest and the most comfortable carriage in Bradford. It cost him extra 60 gold coins to paint it in black. Master Ghost, shall we go? Ricky asked. Even Ricky painted his face to resemble a skull so he could show his support to Ghost. Ricky would have painted an A for Elia on his forehead if Claire didn't announce that Elia is not participating in the tournament for personal reasons. Where's Nightmare? Oh, he's traveling with sect leader Claire, Olivia and little Cindy. Cool. Michael didn't mind Nightmare travel with them. He loved the silence anyways. Michael opened up the carriage to see red cushioned seats with a small graceful round table in the middle for Michael to dine on. An elegant cup and soccer set was on the table with a pot full of coffee made by Raylene herself. Coupled with the carriage's lavender scent and the coffee fragrance, the carriage put a smile on his face. Do you like it, Master Ghost? Ricky was slightly nervous, but when Michael nodded with a smile, he felt relieved. Let's go. Chapter 322. The forest they were traveling through was gigantic, thick, and thriving. Its canopy was rained by crabapple, ash and rhododendron. Enough light shimmered through their crowns for a medley of herbs to take advantage of the rich grounds below. Curling creepers suspended from many trees, and a potpourri of flowers, which blossomed brightly, adorned the otherwise amber terrain. A clamor of wild noises, most of which were fleeing animals, filled the air and drowned out the occasional sounds of birds of prey gliding in the air. Inside the carriages, Michael was calmly sipping his coffee. Where are you, Snake? He missed Gaia so much as he was checking the seat beside him for her. The scenery outside would have been even more beautiful if she was with him. So Master Ghost, since Miss Elia is not competing, who do you think would win the championship for the body strengthening stage? Ricky asked from the driver's seat. Well, I don't know many prodigies in the body strengthening stage except for Evan, Victoria and Sabrina. If you have to bet on one of them, who would be your choice, Master Ghost? Definitely not that bitch Victoria. Ha ha ha, bad blood, huh, Master Ghost, Ricky laughed. It felt like it was yesterday Michael Spartan kicked Victoria off the stage. Within a year of time, he had gone from a lowly foundation stage cultivator to core formation stage warrior. If it wasn't for the tournament's rule for not letting anyone above the core formation stage participate, he would have a breakthrough to the core strengthening stage. Compared to the badass points he could earn fighting the tournament, reaching the next stage wasn't just as important for the time being. Master Ghost, I heard the princess and the king of Breedia coming to watch the tournament. Michael could feel the excitement in his heart through his voice. Princess, huh? To be honest, even Michael felt a little curious to see a princess in real life. It was hard to believe Gaia is a princess, as she was the last person one would expect to be a princess. She was a rather unique girl compared to many in this world. She would do whatever she likes, speak whatever she wants, and more than anything, she helped him instead of being a trouble magnet. Have you ever met a princess before, Master Ghost? Kind of. Michael couldn't help imagining Gaia in a pink Barbie princess dress with a star wand in her eyes. He chuckled inside. I haven't. Is it true that princesses eat gold shavings to enrich their hair and their hair is worth a ton of coins? Are there any princesses without golden hair? Ricky barraged Michael with questions that sounded ridiculous, yet Michael enjoyed their little chat until something showed up in his environmental scanning map. I'm pretty sure there are princesses with a hair color other than golden, Ricky. Will their hair go for a ton of coins? Do you have a hair fetish or something? Ricky scratched the back of his hand with an embarrassed look on his face. They continued to ride through the dark forest. He gazed at the starry sky through the windows. The bright friends of the moon and their pattern that seemed so fixed yet ever-changing, distant lights to call his heart, to remind him of the conversation he had with Gaia. Why are you up? Michael yawned, opening his eyes to see Gaia staring at the night sky. They were camping out on the mountain peak as they felt like sleeping under the sky. I was wondering how many stars are there. She was sitting on the ground while her hands wrapped around her knees. Are you really asking me that in the middle of the night? Just come here. Michael pulled her down by her waist with one swoop. You know, if we ever leave each other's side for some reason, we can look at the moon and know that the other is looking at the same moon. Well, look who's being romantic. Michael showered her with kisses all over her face. She enjoyed kissing every inch of her velvety soft face. He nibbled her ear while tickling her by running his hair gently through the side of her chest. It took extreme control not to do anything spicy. He respected her wish not to engage in anything other than kissing until marriage. Hey, that tickles. Stop. She wiggled to escape his hold. She tried to retaliate by trying to tickle him back, yet he simply overpowered her. Soon, their playful laughter reverberated the lonely mountain peak. Master Ghost, what do you think? In his moment of walking through the memory lane, he completely ignored Ricky's questions. What did you ask again? 3 guardians said that Mark was their brother. Mark said he had no brothers. Who was lying? Who asked? Michael asked while still keeping an eye on the figures in the environmental scanning map. They were following the carriages for some time. The question in his mind was whether they were particularly following him or not. Cindy. I don't know where she is getting these questions from. She keeps coming up with questions none of us can answer. I really wonder if there is an answer to each question. There is. Michael retrieved a drone from the system storage while Ricky was busy trying to figure out an answer to Cindy's question. The drone flew through the window, disappearing into the dark forest. Really? Come on, tell me, Master Ghost. It's time for payback, Ricky devilishly laughed. However, Michael did not tell him the answer as Ricky was expecting. Master Ghost, what are you doing? Ricky turned back to see Michael opening the carriage door through the small hole before him and Michael. Just some sightseeing. Don't stop, I'll be back soon. Michael flew out of the carriage in the direction of the figures following him. I'm getting bored. Let's start killing them all. A feminine voice could be heard from the dark forest. The voice was filled with murderous intent. Control your bloodlust, Reaper. We must not alert the target. Not until we cut his throat. Another murderous voice sounded. This time, it was a male voice. Dibs on the ladies. Another voice filled with lust spoke. The 3 figures blended perfectly with the forest. The black clothes they were wearing helped them merge with the darkness. They flew neither too fast nor slow, but just enough pace to follow the carriages without alerting any of the sect members. If one looked closer into their eyes, a dim glow could be seen in their eyes. The figures took the cat potion to enable their eyes to see in darkness. If you're calling dibs on the ladies, I call dibs on the target. I heard he's quite the eye-catcher. Oh, not that again. You take too long and scream loud enough to wake the entire city. One of the male voices complained. It's a moan, you idiot. No, it's not. Silence, you two. Everyone stopped talking. Soon, they started to hear rustling sounds coming from ahead of them. They stopped flying immediately. I bet it's a wild cat or something, the female figure said. Magical beast, perhaps. There are no magical beasts in this part of the forest. The rustling sound became louder and louder. They frantically looked around them to locate the source of the sound. It sounded like it's coming from all directions at the same time. But suddenly the rustling sound stopped. Diddle. Diddle. The figures heard a voice as they all looked in the direction of the voice coming to see their target walking towards them. To their shock, their target had a smile on his face. Ghost, the female figure unsheathed her daggers from her waist. She then slowly licked the dagger like it was a candy bar. We are so little. A couple of pop sounds came out from Michael's neck when he cracked his neck. Isn't this face-to-face better than following me from a distance? Because of the wolf masks they were wearing, Michael couldn't see the surprised look on their faces. You guys aren't bad. It's just better, in fact, the best at what you do. His words immediately kindled the killing intent hidden within the figures. They gradually formed a triangle around Michael. The two male figures stood before Michael while the female stood behind him. Now I see why someone put a $500,000 contract on your head. You have the knack to piss of wrong people, one of the male figures spoke. $500,000 you say, not bad. Is there by any chance you three know the name of the person who put a contract on my head? I'm gonna enjoy every second of killing you. Michael heard the woman's voice coming from behind. She was moaning. No idea who put the contract, huh? Michael sighed. It was disappointing but not unexpected. They were just tools sent by the Grim Reaper's guild to kill him. The assassins wouldn't know the one who gave the task to the guild. Only the higher-ups of the guild would know that information. Unfortunately, Michael had no chance of getting that information as the Grim Reapers were a powerful guild operating in shadows. Just like the dark underworld he worked back on Earth. First you Reapers destroyed a shipment of mine. Now coming to kill me. I'm really starting to get pissed. Humph, what are you gonna do? Kill us? You don't even stand a chance. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 323. You picked a nighttime to kill me. Good choice. Michael slowly walked forwards with his hands behind. The Grim Reapers were in no rush to kill him. It seemed like they wanted to kill him slowly, especially the woman behind Michael. Reduced visibility, darkness will help you blend and your spells would draw less attention. Michael listed some of the pros of choosing nighttime to assassinate someone in this forest. But Michael stopped walking for a moment. You guys made a mistake. And what is that? The woman asked. She started to breathe more and more heavily. For a few moments, Michael didn't answer. He just let the silence envelop the place. You failed to study whether your advantage would also be your targets. The cat's eye potion would enable the drinkers to see in the night, yet it wouldn't be like natural vision. Hence, the three assassins failed to notice the changes in the surroundings. As far as they were concerned, the night couldn't get any darker. But it did when Michael cast the death range. Alright, I can't Oh my god. Can't wait any longer. Suddenly her moans echoed through the forest out loud. She directly lunged at Michael. Love shackles in the mid-air. She cast a spell as pink giant shackles materialized in the sky above Michael. Frost rage, illusion lava, Michael's surroundings suddenly changed. The dark forest transformed into a fiery hot lava. He felt like he had been teleported into a boiling volcano. In addition to the illusions, several humanoid creatures made of frosty ice appeared around him in a 5-meter radius. If they weren't only at core strengthening stage level 2, Michael wouldn't have decided to face them head-on. Lightning dash. He dashed away before the shackles could land on him. Just while he was dashing away, he pinpointed the illusionary formation's source point. The source was on the ground, under the dried-out leaves beside the Grim Reaper who cast the spell. Xianxia, the lightning bolt hit the source point with deadly accuracy. Immediately his surroundings transformed back to normal. When the formation got destroyed, it backlashed as a burst of arch energy stunned the spellcaster. The Grim Reaper was momentarily stunned. Watch out! The Grim Reaper who cast a spell to create frost creatures shouted. Xianxia! Michael quickly dashed behind the Grim Reaper. Without wasting a second of time, he sent a bolt of lightning through the Grim Reaper's heart. Because he was a core strengthening stage cultivator, it did not one-shot him. Michael wasn't expecting the lightning bolt to kill him with one shot. That was why he immediately stabbed the cultivator through the wound created by the lightning bolt pulch. Wolf! The male Grim Reaper shouted when he saw Michael's sword sticking out of his colleague's chest. Michael twisted the sword, ending his life. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core strengthening stage, level 2 cultivator. The reward is 300,000 experience points and 2,000 badass points. That's so hot. The female Reaper, however, did not seem to care about her colleague's demise. She just knelt on the ground, moaning loudly. Woman, you're a fucking freak. Michael drew back his sword. He was glad that her climax slowed her down from casting another spell. Kill him. The frosty figures moved slowly, but they were able to reach Michael since he stopped moving to kill the Grim Reaper. Ring of Fire. What was better to fight a bunch of humanoid creatures made of ice than flaming hot fire? Whoosh! Whoosh! The ring of fire sent 2 pulse blasts around Michael, burning everything it passed through. The ice figures did not completely evaporate, but their legs melted down. Another 2 pulses of the fire melted their upper body before they could reach Michael. Lightning dash, ice drag dash boom. Michael dashed at the Grim Reaper to end his life before he could cast another spell. The Grim Reaper was just about to finish his spell when he saw Michael lunge at him. His lightning-fast reflexes kicked in as he immediately retrieved a smoke bomb from his space ring and dropped it into the ground. The smoke bomb exploded, creating a fog of smoke around the Grim Reaper. It was a neat tactic that might have worked if Michael didn't have his X-ray vision and environmental scanning. Ignitia, ignitia, ignitia. The Grim Reaper did not stop moving as he kept running to escape the lightning bolts. The assassin had no time to cast a spell. He was expecting help from his colleague, but she was shaking on the ground. Sucker, Michael chuckled inside. The male Grim Reaper thought Michael was attacking him to kill, while the female cultivator was having a great time thinking that her target was busy with her colleague. Michael suddenly changed his target as he dashed at the female cultivator. While she was quivering on the ground, he tried to cut her neck. Unfortunately, she was quick enough to evade a fatal bow, yet the sword did cut her shoulder. Slash. Aha, you wanna play? The female Reaper slowly stood up from the ground. Her legs were still shaking while her eyes radiated intense pleasure. 2 versus 1, you're dead. The male Grim Reaper sighed in relief seeing his colleague finally entering the battle. He picked up a strange smell, but he didn't focus too much on the smell as he thought it's coming from the forest. TSK TSK TSK. You clowns should have gotten a job in a circus instead of an assassin guild. Now that's hurtful. Finally the female Reaper's voice showed some murderous intent instead of freaky moaning intent. 4, 3. The 2 cultivators were confused when they heard Michael start counting. 2, 1, I'm gonna, cough. Ah, what's happening? Just after taking a few steps towards Michael, the female Reaper started to cough. Behind the masks, their faces slowly turned pale. Their bodies shivered, not in pleasure. Their bodies shivered in fear. The female Grim Reaper couldn't feel her muscles. It was because Michael smeared paralyzing poison on his swords. He really aimed for her throat to kill her instantly, but as usual, he wanted to have a backup plan if she evaded his attack. His backup plan worked. The fear toxin finally showed its effect. The Grim Reaper's deepest fears took hold of their minds. Michael clapped his hands together towards the female Grim Reaper. Golden lightning cracks danced around Michael's hands. The sound of electricity crackles became louder and louder while the light radiated by the lightning cracks was so bright that it looked like someone put a light in the middle of them. Boom! Michael used half of his arch energy to power up the lightning bolt. The thick bolt of lightning soared through the air. When the lightning bolt met its target, it didn't go through her but destroyed half of her body. She stood there bloodied, half of her body was gone, blood splashed from her body while skin slowly peeled off of her. Even the bones were charred as they were visible to the naked eyes. She clung to her life, but she was not in shape to fight. Finally, she fell to the ground. What happened to her didn't horrify the other Reaper, as he had seen gory things like this in the past. But what terrified him more, other than the fear toxin in his body, was the fact that his colleagues were murdered by Core Formation Stage Warrior. They planned everything perfectly, yet nothing went according to the plan from the beginning. To this moment, they had no idea how he found them, how he was this strong and fast. What was the sudden fear they felt? Chameleon attack. While the female Reaper was twitching in the ground, the other one screamed, looking into the dark forest behind Michael. Any moment from now, the Grim Reaper expects their 4th member, also known as their Plan B, jump out of the darkness to plunge a dagger into their target's chest from behind. His name was Chameleon, huh? The Grim Reaper's heart skipped a beat. He mumbled. It was taking everything in him to fight off the sudden fear in his heart. Hence, he hoped Chameleon would kill Michael, ending their battle. I killed him. The moment Michael completed his diddle-diddle, Chameleon lost his life due to blood loss. When Michael first noticed he was being followed, he saw not 3 but 4 hostiles in his environmental scanning map. The 4th one, however, did not travel with the 3 of them. He traveled alone, keeping his distance from the trio. Since he was alone, Michael took care of him first by stealth killing him. The Chameleon was completely caught off guard. Michael quickly stabbed his throat a couple of times to silence him first. Then he broke Chameleon's neck using his full strength, which was boosted by death range. The Grim Reaper saw a bloodied lizard mask appear in Ghost's hand. Although it was bloody, He was sure that the mask belonged to the chameleon. Michael threw the bloody mask near the bloody corpse of the female Grim Reaper. Xianxia. Michael knew the lightning bolt would hit its target without a problem because the Grim Reaper's courage to fight was broken. The fear toxin was still affecting his mind, and the sight of his 3 dead colleagues ripped off any fighting spirit he had left in his heart. Even if the Grim Reaper tried to escape, Michael could take his full Lucifer form, which would boost his power to core strengthening stage level 4 and kill him. Xianxia, lightning dash. He fired another bolt of lightning after the first one hit. The very next moment, he activated the lightning dash to close the distance between them. The Grim Reaper's instincts made him conjure another defensive spell, but the distance was too short and Michael was too fast. He closed the gap between them before plunging his sword straight into the Grim Reaper's throat. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core strengthening stage, level 2 cultivator. The reward is 300,000 experience points and 3,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a core strengthening stage, level 2 cultivator. The reward is 300,000 experience points and 3,000 badass points. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 324. Whoa! Ricky felt a sudden bump while driving the carriage. He heard the carriage door opening. Turning his head, he saw Ghost entering the carriage. Master Ghost, how's your sightseeing? Ricky was not a genius, but he was not stupid either. It was obvious to him that Ghost went to take care of something important. As for what, Ricky didn't want to know. However, Ricky smelled a sweet scent that was neither too strong nor too light. It was just enough for Ricky to take a deep breath and smile. Besides, when Ricky turned back to look at Ghost, in the light produced by the small orb of light inside the carriage, Ghost seemed refreshed, as he had just taken a bath. Michael willed the system to equip his nightdress, which was gray sweatpants and a black tank top. It was pleasant until I had to kill a few rats. Michael laid down on the cushion. After spending almost all of his arch energy, he was pretty tired. Wake me up when we reach Sartan. Michael closed his eyes. Yes, Master Ghost. The curtains inside the carriage added an orange glow to the morning light. Every morning a perfect sunrise. It somehow reminded Michael of the times he slept in a beach hut, watching the ocean emerge under the golden shimmer. For a moment his mind conjured the rhythmic waves, soft on the sandy shore, and felt his heartbeat at the same slow pace. He breathed in deeply. A new day has begun. He reached his hand out to the fabric, noticing how up close the light pours through every open space between fibers, no different from how it once came through the beach hut walls, illuminating like brilliant fireflies each dawn. The material was warm beneath his fingers, and when the sun flooded the carriage, painting the colors anew, he felt a little of those golden rays soak into his skin. Good morning, Snakey. After greeting her instinctively, he slowly opened his eyes, realizing she's not with him. The beautiful morning never seemed beautiful without her. Letting out a sigh, he stood up. After stretching his arms out, he put on a black shirt on top of his black top before getting out of the carriage. In his sect home, he would hear the chirping of birds in the morning. At this moment, he heard no bird sound but constant chatter of people, as well as horses galloping. He opened up the carriage door to be welcomed by the city by the lake, Sartan. Cast on the highest point of Marilla Lake, Sartan was a city of foreign trade. This city wasn't built by a lake by accident, as it had hidden secrets, which were of great importance to the people of Sartan and its success. The city itself looked sublime. With its yew-wood rooftops, ceramic tile walls, and breathtaking waterfall, Sartan had a mystical atmosphere. The main attraction was the giant statue of a Viking-looking man in the center of the city, which was built 1,000 years ago and designed by the dwarves. Sartan had a booming economy, which was mainly supported by trade, mining, and leatherworking. Their biggest strengths were a strong defense and gorgeous leatherworking. However, Sartan lacked people skilled in farming. Despite its strengths and weaknesses, Sartan was most likely headed towards a horrible future under the leadership of Baron Edwell. But this was yet to be seen. Instead of his usual black shoes, he just wore a pair of black slippers. Therefore, when he stepped outside, he felt the hot sand between his toes. As far as he could see, there was nothing but people and carriages. More and more carriages were approaching where he was. No one noticed Michael as he walked around the carriage to locate the people of his sect. What stood in front of him was a beautiful lake. The water was movie star blue. The kind of blue their eyes are. In it, the wisps of clouds were reflected just as well as the steep sides of the glacial valley. All greens and grays. Again the greens of the hills as well as the buildings. The grown-ups were boarding ships while youngsters and children were playing on the shore as if in the most impossible of paintings. The artist painting with colors he thought would fade in time but never did. The lake was the finest of mirrors, never showing exactly what was above, but converting it to an image so beautifully smudged and broken. The weeping willow, the clouds above, all become a Monet, all free for the looking. If he focused on the children, he could get various designs for a castle. Their sand castles looked way better than some real castles in this world. One of those children was Cindy. She was building a tall majestic castle with a couple of female disciples. Even among the ocean of people standing between the two of them, Cindy noticed Michael. Brother, her eyes widened in joy as Michael gestured to Cindy to stay where she was. Michael quickly navigated through the crowd to reach Cindy. Since he was not in his usual attire and the people were busy with boarding ships, they failed to notice Michael. Here she is, as usual. The little girl threw herself up at him like a puppy who hasn't seen its owner for quite some time. Every single time, the girl welcomed Michael like this. The love she had for Michael in her heart was boundless. Gaia, Michael both loved Cindy and her brother just as Cindy loved them. Brother Ghost, you're awake. Ricky just went to see your room on the ship. He was talking about waking you up. It's okay, Michael said to the girls. He knew Ricky might be too busy making sure everything's according to Michael's preference. Since Daniel was with Raylene at Rivertown, most of the tasks related to sect fell on Ricky's shoulder. I think you guys had enough fun. Take your friends and go to your ships. Michael saw what the human traffickers did to those Silvermoon girls. In this crowd, no one recognized a well-known person like Michael. How could anyone notice if a few girls like them went missing? Therefore, Michael ordered them to board the ships as soon as possible. This place seemed like a great hunting ground for kidnappers. All right, let's go. The girls didn't dare to stay any longer after hearing Michael. They left to find their friends. Michael noticed hundreds of ships floating on the lake, waiting for the people to board. When will Sister Elia come back? I miss her, Cindy purred. Me too, Michael pinched Cindy's cheek. She had grown up a couple of inches. The baby fat in her face slowly disappeared. Plus, she had reached foundation stage level 7. Cindy turned his head gently before landing a soft kiss on his cheek. Ouch, you have to shave, brother. Cindy rubbed her lips as his stubble beard pricked her soft lips. Is that so? Michael rubbed his cheek against the little girl's cheek playfully. She wiggled, giggling in his arm. While he was playing with Cindy, he felt someone tickling his shirt. He looked down to see a boy who seemed like 11 or 12 years old looking at him. The boy wore rather raggedy clothes with a flat cap on his head. This is for you. The boy handed out a piece of paper to Michael. What is it? Cindy looked at the boy. Then she looked at Michael. Michael took the paper from the boy's hand to read what was written on it. If you want to know who put a contract on your head, come to Mary's Flowers. After reading the words, he looked down to ask the boy who gave the note, but the boy had already disappeared into the crowd. Do you know where sect leader Claire is, Cindy? Yes, they are over there. Michael made his way through the crowd in the direction Cindy pointed. Behave yourselves. After a few minutes of walking, Michael finally saw Claire and Olivia overseeing the disciples boarding the ships. Teacher. Look, Brother Ghost. One of the disciples pointed his hand at Michael as the two ladies turned back. Both of them couldn't help but raise their brows. Through his black tank top, they could see his perfect chiseled chest. The shirt's hands seemed like they were about to tear due to his bicep size. His usual attire used to hide his muscles, unlike what he was wearing at the moment. It was simple, yet even a simple dress like this made him look striking. Good morning, sect leader Claire. Olivia. How did you sleep last night? Olivia asked. Like a baby. Cindy, stay with them. Michael put down Cindy. I have something to take care of. You guys go ahead. I'll join you later. Can someone else take care of it for you, teacher? You need to take as much rest as you can before the tournament. Yeah, what she said. Claire agreed with Olivia. It won't take too long. Don't worry. Michael quickly turned back, leaving the place. He wanted to know who put the contract on his head more than rest. If the Grim Reapers were anything like the dark underworld on Earth, they would send more assassins after him. The next time, the assassins would be stronger than the 4 he killed. To put a stop to this, Michael needed to kill the one who put the contract on his head in the first place. At least he hoped it would stop the Reapers. If you like this chapter, please comment, send power stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 325, Somewhere else in Azare continent. Zanali was standing alone in an empty room where there was nothing but a large table in the center. She had a deep frown on her face. The reason for her frown was the stuff on the table. A weak-hearted one would be freaked out to see the broken skeletons of Nagas. Under the waist, the skeleton had the bone structure of a snake. Above the waist looked similar to humans except their heads resembled a skeleton of a cobra's head. The bones were muddy, partially decomposed. She didn't need anyone to tell her how they die. She could see a deep cut in their hyoid bones. These are your men. A tall figure walked out from the dark corner. He looked human but he was not. His upper body resembled a tiger, including his face. Standing almost 7 foot tall with a muscular build and a tiger face, he would terrify people who haven't been familiar with beast men. Even among the beast men, people with predator genes such as golden lion, white tiger, black panther, brown bear were extremely rare. Siege! A loud scream of an eagle could be heard in the room. Zanali looked up at the black eagle staring back at her from his shoulder. Your men were killed by a cold killer, the tiger beast man said. Jacoby, what do you mean a cold killer? Zanali asked. She wondered how Jacoby could tell if the killer was cold or not by looking at the partially decomposed skeletons. The cuts. There was no hesitation. Clean, deep cuts. The killer is either a trained killer or a murderous psychopath who killed more than 50 people or both. Any signs of Gaia? Zanali asked. After hearing Jacoby describe the killer, a tinge of worry emerged in her heart. It was true that Zanali ordered her men to cripple Gaia's cultivation, but she wasn't as heartless as Gaia thought. Zanali had to cripple her cultivation because Gaia murdered hundreds of prisons as well as bribed almost half of the king's court. Zanali really wanted her stepsister to reflect on the bad things she had done in her life. Zanali hoped crippling her cultivation and throwing her in prison would rehabilitate Gaia, make her a better person. Her tracks disappear at the river town's border. It seems like someone from the river town helped your stepsister. Jacoby spoke with a thick accent Michael would have recognized as African. Can you track her down? Humph, can I? I will track her down. I just want something that has the scent of her and an answer, Jacoby snickered. He gently rubbed the eagle's neck. His animalistic grin made him look even more terrifying. Answer to what? Jacoby finally stepped out of the darkness, completely revealing his golden fur-filled upper body that looked exactly like a Bengal tiger except for the hat on his head. Do you want your stepsister dead or alive? After giving Jacoby what he needed to find Gaia, Zanali came back to Peyton's manor. Zanali saw her friend resting her head on the hand which she only did when she was either pissed off or worried or both. Peyton, what happened? She sat beside Peyton. Nothing. Peyton waved her off. But behind her glasses, Zanali could see a sliver of anger. Don't give me that, Missy. Something happened with the Alpha Guardian? Before she went to meet with Jacoby, Zanali left Peyton at one of the Guardian Guild safehouses where the Alpha Guardian was waiting for Peyton. Apparently, Peyton had some questions regarding how the Alpha Guardian handled the Lucifer situation. Although the Alpha Guardian put Peyton in charge of the operation, Zanali knew who led the Guardian to victory, Noah. Ever since Peyton chose Noah after Ghost rejected the offer, Noah had been climbing the ladder way faster than anyone ever did. In a short amount of time, he was promoted from being a trainee Guardian to a Guardian who had the privilege to train with the Alpha Guardian of Hunters, Isarl. Many Guardians would die to even meet an Alpha Guardian, yet Noah received the privilege of training with one. It went fine, Peyton said. She was trying to calm her anger in silence. Come on, Peyton. You owe me an explanation. Explanation? You want an explanation? Finally, Zanali's pestering broke the dam that kept Peyton's anger in control. You want an explanation why the Guardians failed to apprehend Lucifer? You want an explanation why the Alpha Guardian is not sending her entire fleet searching for Lucifer? You want an explanation why they were thinking about promoting Noah to Guardian Captain instead of me? She punched the table so hard that it obliterated into bits and pieces. Well, I don't know. Why don't you go ask your boyfriend? Zanali was completely taken aback by surprise and shock. She had never seen Peyton lose her patience like this. Peyton realized what she had done when she looked at the horrified expression on her friend's face. Plus, The mahogany table that was reduced to nothing but a pile of splinters helped her realize what she did. "I'm sorry, Zanali." Zanali understood that Peyton wanted to be alone for some time. However, Peyton never left her side when she needed a friend to talk to. Most of the Guardians didn't like Nagas. To Zanali's luck, a bunch of racist humans were the ones who hired Zanali's batch of Guardians. At first, they rejected Zanali just because she was not a human. It was Peyton who fought them and cashed in all her favors to recruit Zanali, just because Peyton valued Zanali's talents more than anything. In Peyton's rage, she let out the matter of promotion. Zanali knew Peyton was working hard to get that promotion. It was the reason she took the risk of starting Operation New Dawn, which was to catch Lucifer, and she did. Although Noah also deserved to be promoted, Zanali knew it wasn't fair if Peyton got passed on that promotion because of Noah. Zanali was stuck in a dilemma. One side was her best friend, on the other side, the man who stole her heart. It was impossible for her to pick either of them over another. "It wasn't my fault they couldn't catch Lucifer. Let me tell you something, Zanali, something happened. I don't know what, but something happened. You were there. Did you remember anything before the blackout?" No. After Michael teleported, the Silent Reaper sunk into the bottom of the sea. They remembered waking up on the Alpha Guardian's warship. Before Peyton lost her consciousness, she could swear she felt immense pressure coming from Noah. Plus, she saw something change in Noah. She couldn't put her fingers in what, but something changed. She told the Alpha Guardian about this, yet she just brushed it off instead of investigating. Peyton tried to convince the Alpha Guardian to continue the search for Lucifer. However, the Alpha Guardian didn't seem like she's going to let anyone look for the Dark Lord. "Why aren't we hitting the kingdoms searching for the Dark Lord? Are they waiting for him to become stronger?" Peyton asked. "At least they should have retrieved that evil ship from the sea to find any clues. You know they have to do a closed casket funeral for Gina. Peyton couldn't finish off her sentence. She blamed herself for Gina's death. If it wasn't for Peyton to pluck her out of the trainees to put up with the Silvermoon girls, she wouldn't have ended up in the Dark Lord's ship. Because of her, Gina was murdered by Lucifer brutally, yet the Alpha Guardian refused to continue the search for Lucifer. It's like the Alpha Guardian want to nurture Noah more than catching Lucifer, who murdered one of our own. Are you questioning the Alpha Guardian, Peyton?" Peyton walked towards the window. For a few moments, she just stared at the pond outside in silence. I don't know. Zanali's heart skipped a beat. In all those years she knew Peyton, she had never seen her question the decision made by the Alpha Guardian. Peyton basically worshipped the Alpha Guardian, as she even had a picture of the Alpha Guardian in her room. "What if we take some time off, Peyton? Go see the championship tournaments. I'll take your mind off from all these works." Just like Peyton, Zanali too needed a break, especially after knowing her sister might be with a killer. Since no Guardians were allowed to participate in the tournament, she wasn't going to the tournament, but now it seemed like a good thing as it might relax both of their minds. Whatever. Peyton just shrugged. She wasn't interested in tournaments like many people. If they asked her, she would let the youngsters get survival training for 3 months instead of the tournament. Besides, her mind was not in the mood for tournaments. However, she knew Zanali was right. She needed to take her mind off from the Guardian business for at least a couple of days. So that's a yes. Wonderful. I'll go take care of free things before we leave. Zanali clapped her hands together in joy. After Zanali left the room, Peyton was staring at the distant sky. She could feel her belief in the Guardian Guild had been shaken. How could they think Noah is better than me? I recruited him, not the other way around, she talked to herself. Without even she herself knew, the fire of anger towards Noah had been lit in her heart at this exact moment. If you like this chapter, please comment, send Power Stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. Chapter 326. Just like any cities he had been to, Sartan also looked medieval-ish. Since Sartan's main income was trading, the grey stone road was filled with merchant carriages. Michael walked alongside the road through the crowd. The air smelled different, like a perfume mixed with the lake air. Apples only 3 gold coins. We have the freshest seafood, just caught. Royal Times, who killed Minister Bagru. An investigative piece inside. Ships to Royal Land can be hired here. We have nice discounts. From either side of the road, vendors called out for people. Several street urchins were standing up on a stack of crates and waving the Royal Times newspaper at the crowd. Michael came in front of a seafood stall where he saw blue-color lobsters, tiny crabs, and fishes laid on baskets. They all looked fresh, even smelled good. "Excuse," the vendor who was sprinkling water onto the fishes greeted Michael with a wide grin. "Can you tell me where Mary's flower shop is?" The vendor's smile dimmed out, realizing Michael was not here to buy. The vendor was disappointed, yet he didn't dare to show his disappointment through any words. Although Michael was wearing normal clothes, the vendor could tell he was a cultivator. Over the years, he had seen people getting killed by the cultivators for simple reasons. Therefore, when Michael asked for direction, he just gave it to him. "Go straight and take a left." "Thank you." Michael nodded with a smile before leaving. Among all the stalls, he picked up the seafood vendor subconsciously. When he was traveling with Gaia, she always dragged him to the stalls that sell food or anything related to food. It took him a few seconds to realize why he chose the seafood stall. Remembering the times he had to drag her away from the food stalls by force, he smiled. He walked in the direction the vendor showed him. The air started to smell different. He could taste the sweetness in the air. The smell of roses was overwhelming. The moment he turned left towards a small alley, he located Mary's flowers. He didn't even need to read the name board. The fresh, colorful flowers in front of the shop were enough. Mary's flower was not a street stall. It was a glass building that looked elegant both outside and inside. The building was almost 3 meters away from the pavement. The 3-meter space between the pavement and the shop was crammed with flower vases. They had barely enough space to walk to the glass door without grazing the flowers. In addition to the flowers from the earth such as blood-red roses, pink lotuses, blue dahlias as well as golden orchids, there were several flowers that solely belonged to this world. For instance, one of the vases had dark gray 3-petal flowers. His mind was not, however, in the mood to enjoy their beauty. He wanted to know who put the contract on his head so he could put an end to this threat. "Welcome to Mary's Flower, young lord." The door opened with a ding sound as Michael was welcomed by a young girl in her early teens. She was neither too tall nor too short. With perfect petite structure, she put her brown hair into a bun. A blue lily was sticking out of her bun. "Send him in." As Michael was walking towards the counter, a voice sounded out of nowhere. "This way, young lord." The girl's smile disappeared from her face. She now looked rather stoic. She left the counter. Michael followed her to one of the glass racks filled with rose bouquets. Sliding the glass door, the girl pulled the bouquet in the center. Crack! Just a few seconds after the girl pulled the bouquet, he heard a cracking sound. Then the glass rack before him moved slightly towards the right, leaving just enough space for one to fit in. Through the space, Michael was able to see a table and a chair in the chandelier light. "Lord Information is waiting for you inside." The girl gestured at Michael to step forward. Without wasting a time, Michael entered the room behind the glass rack through the space. Crack! He heard another cracking sound as the secret door made of glass racks slowly closed behind. Michael took each step forward with caution. Lord Ghost, a figure greeted them sitting behind the mahogany table. Silver shoulder-length hair hung over a full, charming face. Hollow brown eyes set concealed within their sockets, watched Michael from top to bottom with a hint of surprise, probably due to Michael's normal attire. The glimmering, smooth, shiny skin perfectly complemented his almost perfect jaw structure. Michael couldn't help staring at the man's pointy ears. An elf. This was the first time Michael had seen an elf in real life. The elf looked exactly as the movies portrayed them except for the sweet scent they radiated. There was something wonderful about him. Perhaps it was his friendly demeanor or perhaps the beautiful smile on the elf's face. Nonetheless, Michael didn't feel any vibe of hostility from Lord Information obviously. Just like Michael, the elf didn't want the others to know his real name, hence he called himself Lord Information. "Take a seat." Lord Information lifted his arm slightly towards the chair as Michael seated himself. The elf's gesture was neither too polite nor too rude. The elf was writing something on a parchment. "You sent this." Michael placed the piece of paper the boy gave him on the table. "Words are mine." Lord Information leaned back on his chair, finally closing the parchment he was writing on. His brown eyes stared at Michael. "What's it gonna cost?" The elf's name was a dead giveaway of what he sells. Knowledge was wealth and the elf was dealing in information. So he knew the information he wanted wouldn't be free. "Lord Ghost, you probably know the business I'm in. It's safe to say nothing happens in this continent without me knowing. A piece of information that seems irrelevant to someone might be relevant to another one. With the right circumstance, one will pay anything for the information I provide. He emphasized the word anything. What he said was true though. Nothing was more valuable to him than his own life. Michael was willing to pay any price. Take you for example. What you know is someone put a contract on your head for 500,000 gold coins. Since you're here, that means you killed the 4 core strengthening stage reapers sent after you by the guild. Michael was genuinely surprised. Not only the elf knew about their cultivation stage, but he also knew how many reapers were sent after him. Unfortunately for you, next time, stronger reapers will come after you. If they can't kill you, more will come. The Grim Reapers will keep sending reapers after you until you're dead in the ground. As Michael feared, the Grim Reapers would send reapers after him until he died. Even with the system, defeating anyone above the core strengthening stage was impossible. The only viable option seemed to be running away. However, he had too much going on here for him to drop everything and run. The elf let out a fox-like smile. Unless you kill the one who put the contract on your head. No paymaster, no contract, and you have that information. That's why you're here. Under normal circumstances, the price will be 5 times the bounty on your head. The elf tapped the table in a rhythm. I'm afraid this is not one. The price for this information aren't gold coins. The price is a favor from you. Favor. Michael was surprised, yet he also sighed. I knew this won't be that easy, he said to himself. If he had to pay 5 million gold coins, he could have easily paid to buy the information. However, the elf seemed to have a different idea in his mind. One of my elite clients has provided the information you need. Rest assured, it's completely accurate. The one provided this information isn't interested in gold coins. They want me to do them a favor. No questions asked, I presume, Lord Information nodded. If it's within my power, I'll give what they want. Wonderful. It's yours, but knows this, Lord Ghost. Your word is your bone. If you backed out from your word. Before giving the information, the elf dragged his words out instead of finishing his sentence. The elf wanted to let Ghost know the consequences of going back on his word. I didn't survive till now backing out of my words, Lord Information. Michael wouldn't dare to back out of his words, as Lord Information just had to pay the Grim Reapers a visit to end his life. Right from the beginning, Michael's intention was to become strong without making many powerful enemies. Michael would rather have Lord Information as a valuable ally at his side than as an enemy. An elf with dark secrets to sell could become the backbone of Lucifer's rule. Finally, the elf slid a piece of white paper towards Michael. He slowly leaned forward to pick the paper. The moment his eyes fell on the piece of paper, everything started to make sense. To this moment, he was planning various ways to kill the one who put the contract on his head. He knew someone who could pay 500,000 gold coins wouldn't be easy to kill whenever he wanted. Michael was thinking about dealing with this problem as Lucifer. However, fate decided to end the problem as Ghost. Michael read the words written on the piece of paper. The one who was willing to pay 500,000 to kill Ghost. Alex Fisher, if you like this chapter, please comment, send Power Stones. If you really like this chapter and my novel, consider sending me gifts, as it would motivate me to put out more chapters. Any criticism, feel free to bash me in the comments. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.